Blog Talk Radio.
You're watching The Madness of a Lost Society. November 26, 2010, Black Friday revealed yet further evidence of the complete madness of the populace of our lost society.
In case you didn't hear, the leaders of China and Russia.
China and Russia said that they are renouncing the dollar.
The best way to think of it is a ticking time bomb. At some stage, the dollar will fall sharply.
Now, you might be saying, Neil, what the heck does this mean to me?
As the dollar loses status as the world's reserve currency, as mystery missiles launch just off our shores, as North and South Korea take the world to the brink of war, as the TSA violates all measure of liberty and constitutional rights, and as the U.S. military itself prepares for the coming total economic collapse and breakdown of civil order, this is what Americans care about. Wanton, lustful commercialism, acting like animals fighting over trinkets made by human beings for slave wages. As you watch this horrific video, do you think any of these people own a single ounce of physical precious metal? Any gold? Any silver? Do you think that even one of them understands what the Federal Reserve is, or that the Fed is spending them into oblivion in economic slavery? Do you think even one among them has made any preparations at all for the day when there is no food on grocery store shelves? And do you think the morally bankrupt executives at Target or Walmart even care? This is what we've become. A decadent, mindless culture who, by virtue of this complete and willful ignorance, are now officially complicit in the crimes being perpetrated against us. Do you think these people who behave like animals, literally trampling each other over $198 laptops and $10 toasters, will even pause for a moment to consider their actions before they riot and burn entire cities when the days of hyperinflation finally arrive? When the grocery stores are bare, when they are truly desperate? This, my friends, is what a dumbed-down, morally bankrupt, completely broken society looks like, and this is how it behaves. No outrage over the bankers raping them. No outrage over their gutted industry. No outrage over their plundered dollar. Just blind, wanton stupidity. Just bread and circuses. The elite are social Darwinists, and they believe what they can get away with is fair game as long as we allow it. This is social engineering, and they've done it to us by design. They've turned us into animals that they can corral. We are no longer citizens in a republic safeguarded by our elected representatives. We are consumers feeding at a corporate trough managed by officials.
Will you tell the American people to whom you lent $2.2 trillion of their dollars?
Hundreds and hundreds of banks, any bank or that has access to the U.S. Federal Reserve system.
You tell us who they are.
No.
If this is America, who will stop them? Our entire system is corrupt and needs to be dismantled and begun anew. But from what base? If what happened on Friday across America is any indication of the condition of the American populace, then our very foundations are built of sand. May God forgive us for what we've become and for what we've allowed to happen to our nation. And may those of us with the courage and sense to do it renounce this behavior and the monstrous marketing ploy that is Black Friday in its entirety. This, my friends, is not us. We are the Republic. We are the informed. We are the proactive ones. And it is our job to lift up those who are lost. And saving our Republic is a full-time job. May God bless the Republic.
There you have it right there. It's Black Friday from previous years. And, of course, Black Friday is coming around. And we know what happens on Black Friday. Everybody starts killing each other over $99 laptops and $20 toasters and whatever. And their little iPhones and dumb phones or whatever you want to call them. And people will trample their best friends and they'll leave their kids behind. I mean, it's just the American people are just, I just don't really think the masses will ever wake up. And it's just going to take a minority to take back this country like the revolution. It's going to take the few, the 3%. Where do you think they got the name 3%er from? It was 3%. It was basically 3% of the population, the colonies that fought for the freedom. Because the majority will just want to be left alone or just go along or just pay or just give in, and they'll give up their firstborn. They don't care because really people just look at the human race at itself. How much pride how many people do you know that are willing to sacrifice for their neighbor? How many people are willing to pledge their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor for their neighbor? No, we'll just go vote, and who cares if they rig it or not? Who cares? I did my duty, right? No, that's not what it. That's not a responsible citizen. Let's go. Let's talk about the Bill of Rights, right? How many of you really know about the Bill of Rights or the Declaration of Independence? How many of you really, really understand it or even read it? Well, let's go over that real quick here. It's about 8 minutes of your time here, and then we're going to go into the militia movement. All right? I think that's very important because we see the militias are on the rise again, and we hear about these stories, and many people know that many of the militia groups have called into this show over the years. And we'll go over that. So let's go over this real quick and make sure you understand it.
In Congress, July 4th, 1776, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to these separations. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such forms as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. He has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained. And when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people, unless those people would relinquish the right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly, opposing with massive firmness his invasions of the rights of the people. He has refused for a long time after such dissolution to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers, incapable of annihilation, have returned to the people at large for their exercise, the state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasion from without and compulsion within. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states, for that purpose obstructing the laws of naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migration thither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations of land. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. He has kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislators. He has affected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation, for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them by a mock trial, from punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states, for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury, for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses, for abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies, for taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our government, for suspending our own legislators and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of its protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coasts, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages, and totally unworthy the head of a civilized nation. He has constrained our fellow citizens taken captive on the high seas to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. He has excited domestic insurrections among us, and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers, the merciless Indian savages whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. Nor have we been wanting in attention to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our emigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and of consanguinity. We must, therefore, acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation and hold them, as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, in peace, friends. We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress, assemble, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
All right, here we have it. Let's go to the mic now. Okay, here we go. What we're going to do now is concentrate now. This is what happens when you, we're going into today's militia, not yesterday's militia. We're going to go into but this is going to be inside of a, they call it leftist, but it's a militia group. So hang on one second. Let's get this up and going. Guns are political. Like arms apparatus. It doesn't make them feel safer for us to have guns.
Let's think they think they're radical.
It's just like this. Yeah, and I mean like this. It creates a different balance of power.
Gun sales in America reached record highs at the beginning of the pandemic and have continued after ongoing political and racial violence across the country has led more Americans to question their own safety. For Brute, I'm taking you to Houston, Texas to meet up with Flight Risk, the founder of Arm Your Friends, a growing leftist and BIPOC gun organization that is training underserved communities how to use firearms.
I'm not on my parents' health insurance anymore, and I work for myself doing a bit of everything. So I found a plan for just...
One reason why most of our team would go by call signs on the internet and we made up our goofy nicknames is because most of us have careers that aren't related to firearms or self-defense or anything political at all. We have to make sure that we're at least a little bit insulated and that our identities are protected just to keep our loved ones safe, keep our place of work out of all this because what seems normal to us, simply being like a person of color in the ways that you choose to interact with the world is inherently political. Much better. No, I'm toast of anyone related to my job. To be careful. I need to be careful because everything that we say is on the record. Remember, stay in flight, be gay, be crimes. The motto. That's the Arm Your Friends Medusa head patch on the kit, as well as the Clan Buster patch, just so people know what I'm about. Y'all ready to roll? What you see there is a Punisher skull in the American flag theme, which is kind of a symbol of, right-wing militancy. Of course, any symbol means a lot of things to a lot of people, but it's kind of been co-opted as a right-wing symbol. Is that nice? Oh, nice. We like to talk about ourselves as being the future of the gun culture. I thought Arm Your Friends would be a good way to really serve as a bridge for everyone who is turned off by the ultra right-leaning, super Republican, NRA-dominated conversation about firearms. Look at this guy, he's so cute. He's like a big dog.
We're out here at the shooting range and they're just getting started with their training. White said the owner told them that yesterday they got 2 calls telling them not to let Arm Your Friends train here because they were too radical and that they were extremists.
They told me about it today saying, hey, y'all better go watch your backs. There's some people trying to cancel your events. Knowing that we live in people's heads, rent-free, you get to live there. The more people, react to what you're doing, it means you're having an impact, and you're inspiring people to care about what you're doing one way or the other.
Why do you think they think you're radical?
I feel like, because you look like this. Yeah. And I look like this. I feel like people are afraid of what they don't understand. And we target people who
the firearms industry, community, world is trying to keep out. So when we're removing those barriers, we're like changing what their world looks like. And suddenly that's a problem. Like more black people getting involved, more Asian people getting involved, Hispanics, Latinos, people with like left of center political views, or people who just view current issues differently than the monolith of the firearms industry. And our mission of like bringing those people in, like if that's extreme to you, you're not ready for the future, because this is what the future looks like. Yep. Absolutely. And people like this have always existed, and they've wanted to become trained, take charge of their self-defense, but the industry has left them out of the conversation. And suddenly now we want to provide a space for them to be a part of that. Suddenly that's a problem somehow. Yeah. Why is that a problem? Yeah. Yeah, a problem we have had in the past is there's been calls to report the firearms that we own legally as stolen to try to get us in trouble with law enforcement. So we tried our best to not show our gun serial numbers so that apples on the internet don't mark it as stolen or report it as stolen. Safety is going to be priority number one here. We are doing some safety hood rat stuff out here today, so we'll make sure that no one leaves with any holes they did not arrive with. Cool? All right, eyes and ears, everyone, eyes and ears. You on the fourth one? Yes, sir. Send them.
All right, there you go. You have it right there. The militias of the beginning. This is one of the leftist militia groups. We got another one here that goes in more detail of the militia group. But you know, we saw this happen. Remember 2008? It popped up, same thing. And then the militias of the early 90s with the Randy Weaver story. And you know, it's really, what do you think's going to happen? I mean, do you think? I mean, like we saw the lockdowns of the pandemic, nothing happened. The militias didn't organize. There was no breakdown of the communities or society. So really, what has to happen for America really to cave in and really turn into that civil war everybody always talks about? I don't see it happening. I don't think it can happen. I think even if the grocery stores were to close down and shut down, it's just America's too big to fail right now. I mean, I just don't think it can collapse like everyone has predicted. It was going to collapse over many years now. Nothing wrong with being prepared. Nothing wrong with being in a group, I guess you could say, of people that think like you. But to preach that the collapse is coming and the end is here, I just don't see it. I don't see it. I mean, I don't think any of you really out there see it. And if you do, because I speak to people in the military, and the militias of of today are not the militias of 1776. It's just not even close. Last night we did a documentary on George Washington. Those groups of people were farmers. There were different type of groups of men and women it was a different time. Those groups of men and women are not existent today. There is no way that we can say that we have those types of people existing amongst us today. There's no way. Those people were trying to start something. They were trying to form a government. We already have a government. We have a government that is broken right now. We have a government that's corrupt right now. So how are we going to fix it? Certainly the militia is not going to fix it. That's not the militia's job, okay? So, understanding the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, really, many people don't understand it. I mean, you hear people out there today, I go on other podcast shows, my tax dollars, we've been over that before, the Federal Reserve. I played just a couple of weeks ago. Aaron Russo's there. Freedom of Fascism, where we discussed the Federal Reserve. We played the Money Masters, the creation of money, how money's created, how it's created out of thin air, the fractional reserve banking, how the criminal bankers have hijacked our monetary system. Our President of the United States does not control our monetary system. Congress does not really control our monetary system. The Federal Reserve does. The Federal Reserve is a privately owned banking cartel that is not a part of our federal government at all. It's no more federal than Federal Express. Simple as that. So how could you say, and we have a printing press that prints the money. So America's not broke. They're not broke. We are not broke. Okay? All your states are not broke. Plenty of money. Let me give you one quick, easy, simplistic example real quick here. Okay? Let's say, just hypothetically, your state has a budget of $5 billion. Okay? And they pass the budget, and okay, now they start allocating the money. Now all of a sudden you have a tornado, a couple tornadoes go through your state, and it causes $50 million worth of damage. Then you get hit by a hurricane. Well, you already passed your budget, so where's that money coming from? Okay, you already passed your budget, and most states don't even have a balanced budget, so where's that money coming from? How are they going to fix everything? How are they going to pay for anything to be fixed? The money's already spent for the budget. Where's it going to come from? Does anyone have any answers on that? How they get it? You know, we declare an emergency, and all of a sudden, poof, the money tree out back starts growing money, right? No. That's not because they practice fractional reserve banking, and all they have to do is buy more bonds, deposit those bonds, and then the Federal Reserve then lends it out to the U.S. Treasury or their state treasuries, and then they allocate that money to the banks. The banks then distribute it at interest. And it's borrowed at interest. So therefore, and it's money created out of nothing, fake bonds, generated bonds it's a really a big scam and scheme that really, if you really get down to it, it's really easy to figure out. It's money created out of thin air, nothing. It don't exist. You are that money. You are that money because you're the promise. You're the promise. Your labor is the promise. What you generate throughout your life is the promise and how the government's going to pay back the Federal Reserve. You're the slave. You know, no, you're not going to cash in your birth certificate. It doesn't work like that. But we could start there if you want with the bond. Let's see here. I think I played that one there right there before. It's like an 8-minute clip about the straw man where, you know, about your birth certificate and everything. But you're not going to cash it in. You know, it doesn't work like that. You're not going to go to the bank and say, I want to cash in my birth certificate because it's bonded. It's a bond. No. Well, then how could you call it a bond? That's interesting. You know, but again, the fractional reserve banking scheme, creating money out of thin air and then lending it out or recreating it and then lending it out, you know, many times over is really usury. And a good video to watch on that would be it's titled "The Most Important Video on the Internet," and it goes into the Federal Reserve and talks about that and the definition of the Federal Reserve. I was an avid supporter of Ron Paul back in the day, so he really was against the Federal Reserve and tried to explain how it worked also. And he was a proponent of audit the Fed, because if you audit the Federal Reserve, you find out really how far the rabbit hole would go down and what wars the Federal Reserve has paid for, and find out that they funded both sides of every war for a long time now. Here's this one right here. This is a good one. This is the straw man one.
How? Well, you need to meet your straw man. He was born the same day you were. He looks like you, has the same name, and lives in your house. You never existed. He'll have even paid his parking ticket or taxes. The worst part? He was dead from day one. From every birth certificate, a legal personality, or legal fiction, is created with the same name. It confused little old you into thinking it's you. So there's you in you and a paper you, or as it's commonly known, a straw man. So when it seems like government officials, court clerks, or the police are speaking English, they aren't. They're speaking legalese, designed to make you agree to verbal and written contracts without even knowing about it, all started from Black Law Dictionary. For example, when the police say, "Do you understand?" you'll say, "Yes." What they are really saying is, "You stand under our authority." Daisy, you just created a verbal contract with them. Oh, you clever government. Did you know that whenever you register something, you are handing over title to the person you register it with? That's right. Whenever you register something with the government, they assume it belongs to them. Register your car? Super. Now you are the registered owner of the vehicle, and the government can crush it when you don't pay your straw man taxes. Expecting a new bundle of joy? Well, then you need to register your little darling with a birth certificate. Then they can start the process all over again and create a new straw man for your little one. Isn't that great? So when Junior grows up, he'll be able to generate revenue just like the have. When you notify on your baby by signing the birth certificate, your child becomes a ward of state. And if the government doesn't like what you're doing, they'll assume it's okay to take the child away or make new rules for things they don't like. Not enough school? Snatch your child? Shouting too loudly? Then it's off to social services for the little one. When you get a bill, it's sent to you but belongs to your straw man, not you. That's why bills, fines, and summons start with Mr., Mrs., or Ms. Sometimes you'll see your surname in capitals, just like on a gravestone. That's because your straw man is dead. It's just a silly piece of paper, created before you could comprehend or even consent to it. When you go to court, you represent your straw man. So you, the human, take on any cost, taxes, and fines involved for the straw man. The human doesn't even need to pay them. But you made a contract with the court by appearing on behalf of your legal personality or straw man, just like the government would. Confused? Well, don't worry. The government doesn't want you to know anyway. If you knew, you'd stop paying things like council tax and parking tickets. Because when you go to court, you are representing your straw man. You are you, alive and made of flesh and blood. Your straw man or legal personality is a piece of paper created from your birth certificate. And you think it's you. What a silly Billy. Would you like to know more? Well, then go over to...
All right, there you have it right there. I think you guys explained it in 5 minutes right there. That's a good, quick video right there. But don't get wrapped up in looking underneath a rock for your straw man. So don't be doing that because you can get yourself in trouble. Let me go over to the studio screen here. All right, anybody want to participate here? 657-383-0616, and we'll connect you here. All right, let's see here. Let's go to the first caller here. Go ahead there, Mr. 234. Go ahead, 234. You had your hand up. Oh, this has got to be taped.
Hang on a minute, Joe. I'm unmuting myself, and I'm trying to do laundry, too.
All right. Well, you're on live.
All right. How about that? How about the new developments today with the BRICS nation? Since we're going to talk about, looks like you want to go with the Federal Reserve and whatnot and the banking. Is that what you're aiming at here?
Well, pretty much, yeah. I was going into the militia too there, but somebody put something. Hang on, somebody put something in the chat room there. Somebody say a prayer for the 70. What is this? And then call. I've called our House Speaker twice now. First time was to let him know how disappointed I was with the CR. I thanked him for being got back into our House, but his decision to promote more of the same with the CR was a mistake. I left this as a recorded message voicemail. It says, my second call to the speaker was earlier today. I spoke to a person working in the speaker's office. My message to the speaker, I thanked him for releasing the J6 tapes. Then I stressed it is Thanksgiving week, and many innocent Americans are locked up for being Americans. The actions actions against these Americans is anti-American, unconstitutional, and evil. The Speaker must take action to have a real J6 committee and to hold everyone involved accountable for what has been done to these Americans. I repeated some statements and asked if the Speaker had created such a committee. The person stated they could not speak on behalf of the Speaker. Of course, they always say that. They only dare to answer the phones. He said he would let the Speaker know of my comments. Yeah, right. I plan to call again and ask the Speaker to find out how many of these Americans committed suicide as a result to this abuse. He should read their names into the public record and those involved in this massive fraud and conspiracy against American patriots must be charged with murder. If the Speaker is true to his Christian faith and the U.S. Constitution, he will do this because it is the right thing to do. I am asking my fellow American patriots to take action and call the Speaker along with your senators and representatives about the evil and ungodly, un-American, unconstitutional actions taken against our fellow Americans be addressed and corrected. This is so wrong and evil. And if this is not corrected and corrected soon, we must face the fact we have no country anymore. So there you go, and there's the speaker's phone number right there, Mike Johnson. Well, let's see here. Are they closed now? Are they open? Or does the comment line? I mean, or do they have a comment voicemail by any chance? I'm asking.
It's probably the same thing you do, Joe. Like,
I know. I think. Yeah. Let's see what happens with my call. Let's see what happens with my call right now. Let's talk about that. Let's just see what happens. I don't think it'll answer.
Well, who are you going to
go ahead and call. Speaker of the House.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you call now.
You've reached the office of Speaker Mike Johnson. Yeah. Unfortunately, we are unable to take your call at the time. If you leave your name, number, and the name of the staffer you are trying to contact, we will attempt to call you back as soon as possible. Thank you.
Hello, how you doing? My name is Joseph Gibson. I'm calling from Blog Talk Radio, Restoring Our Republic. And I have a message for the speaker. Hopefully he will do the right thing and restore our republic and realize, and because we the American people know that the United States is a corporation and the District of Columbia is a corporation, and we need to restore our original Constitution and our republic as the Founding Fathers intended and what was intended by the Constitution as it was written and in the Declaration of Bill of Rights. So I'm leaving that message. I do a podcast show. The phone number to my podcast show is 657-383-0616. I'm usually on in the evenings at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesdays. And I would love to speak to the speaker and talk to him about these types of issues, or that type of issue particularly, and also about the J6 committee. I have several issues I'd like to address there also. So I thank you for your time. God bless the Republic. All right, there you have it. Huh, Dave? What do you think?
Yeah, well, that's pretty good. I mean, at least you can get through. Hell, next you're probably calling a half hour, and the mailbox will be full.
Yeah. Well,
you can't leave a
message. That was kind of on the spot. I just decided to just throw it out there because I'm live on a podcast. I would like to have something documented, like what American Statesman I obviously called and said was pretty good. So, but that's what I've read there in the chat room. So. But anyway, what's on your mind now?
That was good for sure. Well, I was going to say, if you heard any of the news in the last, let's see, what time is it now? 10 o'clock? I'd say in the last 22 hours, the BRICS Union had a emergency meeting. One where they called in. I'm not sure exactly how many countries are in that. South America, Russia, or South Africa, Russia. Who else?
Yeah, well, we know countries that
China,
aren't with us.
Yeah. Well, they're going to investigate. They are pushed forward, and they are accepted to arrest. They were actually put out an arrest warrant, an indictment for Netanyahu from Israel to be charged on crimes against humanity and war crimes.
Really? And what do they base this on? What is this committee that you're talking about? This because the United Nations don't they have a arrest warrant for Putin? Doesn't the World Court or something have an arrest warrant for Putin?
Yes, they do. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So now, however they work with their Interpol and that stuff, they can't leave their country, because if they do, they basically should be caught where you're leaving from. But the BRICS Union, I'm not sure who it's the ones that are trying to break away from the actual. It's not a bad thing in one sense because they're trying to get away from the crown, the British crown, under their rule of thumb or however you want to call it, what we've been under forever. The same thing, the Federal Reserve, they want to get away and do their own banking system. But, you're talking about countries that have really no, I don't know what you want to say, no fight in the game in Israel as of right now, as far as looking at
well, this just in right now, actually, the State Department admits Russia has won the Ukrainian war. So
yes, that was almost a month ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, they did. Yeah, but this is just 6 hours ago.
If you had seen some of the stuff that was going on, if you got to see some of the the footage on the ground from people that were actually reporting the news over there to their own people, like you might get local news where you're at halfway decent, but then again, you try to get to the national news, you're screwed because they're going to tell you what they want you to hear. But they were losing 8-1 people a day. That's how bad the atrocity was going on over there. They were killing them guys.
Well, they're still fighting.
Well, I don't think they're still fighting, but actually what you're going to have is you're going to have the same thing as what Hezbollah and the rest of them guys do. All of them hide behind civilians, and they'll go into a school or a hospital, and they'll post up there because they don't think somebody will bomb them, because that's the Geneva Convention, says you're not allowed to. That's what do you call it? A war crime. You can't do that. You're not supposed to be able to bomb civilians. So that's why they hide them.
Well, listen to this real quick.
And that's why
listen to this real quick. This is eugenics, though. We are dying in the Huxley eugenics nightmare, really, basically. So let me play this real quick. This is only a couple minutes long, and then I'll check the boards again. Let's see. Hang on.
Data we're collecting from surveillance efforts. What's being said on social media platforms? We have launched an effort to be able to counter some of the negativity and reach out to people when we see hate-speech things spoken about on online platforms.
This governor of New York statement about how they're going to surveil everyone and then thought crime you is a big deal, because they've already been doing this, but now the ADL that runs this lady wants it codified into law. You've seen the EU say recently, oh, don't worry, soon we'll be censoring Americans. Well, the EU threatening to arrest Elon Musk. This is a big deal. Governor Kathy Hochul says New York now conducting special media surveillance efforts to monitor hate. That's government taxpayer money to monitor what you say. And I always point this out about the censorship. It's surveillance and censorship. And the surveillance is just as bad as the censorship itself. None dare call it conspiracy, and many, many others like Klingon Skousen's The Naked Communist. And then reading the New American Magazine predicting what the world government would look like from their own documents, and getting heavily into the UN's library and thinking, man, this is really fantastical. This is really totalitarian. This is really transhumanist. This is incredibly dangerous and looks like Brave New World. And then I read Brave New World. Then I read Brave New World Revisited, which is nonfiction. And there was Aldous Huxley, whose brother founded the UN, Julian Huxley, and was the head of the World Eugenics Society and later the first transhumanist, saying in the 50s, we're going to end the sexes, break up the families, and turn humans into factory farm-produced creatures that we control.
But you have more and more people seeing their lives out as subordinates in these hierarchical systems controlled by bureaucracies, either the bureaucracies of big business or the bureaucracies of big government.
Now, the devices that you were talking about, are there specific devices or methods of communication which diminish our freedoms in addition to overpopulation and over-organization?
Well, there are certainly devices which can be used in this way. I mean, let us take a fourth piece of very recent and very painful history is the propaganda used by Hitler, which was incredibly effective. I mean, what were Hitler's methods? Hitler used terror on the one kind, brute force on the one hand, but he also used a very efficient form of propaganda, which he was using every modern device at that time. He didn't have TV, but he had the radio, which he used to the fullest extent, and was able to impose his will on an immense mass of people. I mean, the Germans were highly educated people.
And Huxley wrote in Brave New World Revisited in 1961 that this was the actual plan of the technocrats. So, see, I knew that the founding scientist of the UN and his brother had told everybody the battle plan and then explained this is not a joke. And then I went and looked at what they were planning in the 50s that was done by the 70s. What they were planning in the 70s was done by the 90s. And I said, well, if we continue down the trajectory, what they're saying they'll have done by the year 2000, Agenda 2021, then they're going to do Agenda 2030, which is 90% forced depopulation. That's going to get really nasty, isn't it?
It is the inventory and control plan. Inventory and control of all land, all water, all minerals, all plants, all animals, all construction, all means of production, all food, all energy, all information, and all human beings in the world. This is the plan that was agreed to by 179 nations back in 1992. It's the United Nations plan. It's called the Agenda for the 21st Century.
And so they are attempting, and that's the whole point of the broadcast is, we know the enemy plan, we know their operation, and we know the trajectory only goes down until we start not complying and then building alternate systems. The
Right there. Just non-compliance. Don't comply with it. But how many people are complying with it? They're all complying. Everyone's in compliance. No, everybody's like, what can you do? What can you do about it? You can't do nothing about it. Just got to cooperate. And my saying, you walk outside, wow, what the heck? They're taking my neighbor to my left there. What the heck are they taking him away for? Whoop, he's getting away in handcuffs. A couple of weeks later, whoop, my neighbor to the right, he's getting taken away in handcuffs. What the heck? I'm glad it ain't me. Boom, guy across the street, they're taking him away. Also, I go back in my house, and my neighborhood's kind of empty. And nobody to help me now, right? I mean, maybe we should have put a stop to it when the guy to the left was getting taken first, right? I mean, we don't want to help each other out. Nobody wants to sacrifice because we're not there yet because we haven't lost everything. But you see, they methodically do this. They know how to incrementally break everything down and that's why you're on a list. That's why certain people are not. That's why other people are. That's why, and we're just playing right into the system. And how many times I hear it here on this podcast show and on other podcast shows, sometimes we slip into that mindset where, no, we have to stay focused. We have to stay fighting. We got to stay vigilant. We have to stay very well focused and trained on the mission at hand here, and that is to restore our republic, restore freedom, and crush tyranny, and stand up for what's right, and not be fooled, and not be put into the paradigm shift of thinking that they have over us, or they're trying to get over us, And those of us that are really awake, they can't get us, no matter what they do, and they know that. But there's others out there. Well, how many of us are getting old, and we're getting older and older and older, and we can't fight no more eventually? That's why I say, man, I don't want to be old and they pull this crap off and I can't fight. Right now, I'm in perfect shape. I could fight. I'm ready. I'll take on that UN super patriot. I don't care. Come on, punk. I'm ready to go. But the point being is that who am I fighting? I'm fighting ghosts. Who am I fighting? I don't know who these people are. Everyone says the government. You ever hear that when people always are arguing? Or they are accusing the New World Order, the government. Who the hell is the government? The government. Who the hell is the government? That's what I always want to ask. Who's the government? I thought we were the government. You ever hear that when they say that?
We were the government at one time. We were the government.
Yeah, but who's the government?
At one point, these people that we elect and put into place were infiltrated by another group of people we talked about the other night, where their whole goal is to take over everything. They want to rule us. That's what who's doing it all. But they're influenced so heavily under the religion. That's where I think the problem is. Most of these people we see that have this, not that being a Christian's wrong, it's not. But when you have the principles of what Judaism is mixed in with what they want to call the Judeo-Christians, you have that mindset where no matter what happens, Israel's going to be always right, even if they're wrong. Even if they attack our own country like they did with the USS Liberty, they still cup to them and find no fault in them. When you can't do that, because regardless of what you do religion-wise or race-wise, there has to be a guideline where you follow, and you have to be right or wrong. There has to be moral and immoral, and you have to be held accountable that way. That's the only way this is ever going to be fixed.
Well, let me ask you a question. Sarge went over this last night very well, though. They were attacked, Israel. When you declare war on somebody, they're doing it the right way. They declared war on the Hamas. And look, they're even allowing the civilians. How many countries that declare war allow a break so the civilians can get out of the way? Wait a minute.
Now, wait a minute. You can say that, but you're not talking about, how about the first 4 days of that, where Israel locked it down and told nobody they were leaving, period, and commenced the bombing.
They had certain targets. Well, they had certain targets. I mean, listen, you attack my country.
Yeah, there's certain targets, Joe, but that's what I was saying. You got 2 million people in a 20-mile area, but there's no military installations. None.
No, there's not.
People, yes, on the Gaza Strip, that's all it is. 50% of people there are women.
But they're hiding. They're hiding amongst the women and children, though. What do you do?
Right. Right. But is it okay? Hey, that's where Netanyahu's in trouble now, because they came out, their cabinet said it's okay. If we're going to blow up a hospital because there's 5 bad apples in there and 50 people are collateral damage, then so be it. That's exactly how they put it. And that's what they did. And that's why I think that's why BRICS had that thing today, because they literally couldn't denounce and say, well, they didn't say that, because he did say it. And they said it a couple times in different places. And they were very adamant about, we know that they're hiding, especially underground with the tunnels and whatnot. But
so let me ask you a question. What should they have done? Let me ask you a question. What should they have done then, Israel? What would you have done? What would you have done if you're the Prime Minister of Israel? What would you have done?
Well, if you're going to do it, if you want to do it the cowardly way, in the inhumane way, you send the rockets over and you bomb. If you want to do it the politically correct way and the moral way, you put boots on the ground and you go door to door knocking. That's how you have to do it.
That's what they did, basically. They're on the ground right now.
No, they did not. No, they didn't go inside there. Hell no, they didn't go. They're firing them from all over the place around them. They didn't go inside there. Hell, they didn't start the invasion.
You're talking about right off the bat. You're talking about the first day after that happened. You would have sent the military boots on the ground.
Then
your military would have got slaughtered.
Yeah,
but your military would have got slaughtered then, and then you would have been arrested or you voted out of office.
Wait a minute, Joe. How is the third strongest military in the world provided by us? How is the third strongest going to get eliminated or slaughtered in their own country, in their own territory? It's like going to fight in urban combat. A lot of people don't realize you can't go to war and go to the jungle and fight and think that's the only thing that's going to fight, like Vietnam, and then come and try to fight in Afghanistan and go to an urban assault area and go. You have to do that door to door in buildings and stuff. It's a whole different type of warfare. Completely different.
I know it is.
You know what I'm saying? So what you have then?
That's why they sent the smart bomb first. That's why they took used the jets and used the technology first.
Well, they knew that they were going to kill people.
A liar.
Their own people. They're killing their own people, and it's crazy. I don't know. There's no good thing about no matter what anybody says. I've never understood this. My dad raised me and I started boxing. He said, "Listen. You be first. When you're going to get into a fight, don't get hit in the mouth. And like Mike Tyson said, everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the mouth. But here's the thing: if you're first to attack, you have the advantage. You know you're gonna commence to doing it, and you make the actual strike. Now to be on defense sucks because you have to look over your shoulder or whatnot. So do you not go that route and let them take that shot? I just really don't think the rules of war apply to me. If there's going to be a war in America, do you think I'm going to abide by any goddamn laws? Because I don't believe there are any. What are the rules of fighting, and I'll abide by them? I don't believe
it. What about you? Well, look here.
It's hard.
Hamas,
the
bottom line is, listen, Hamas was elected there by the Palestinians, the people there, and yes, the Israelis helped put them there, yes, because they wanted to combat the PLO. But big deal, the United States helped put Osama bin Laden on the map. So, But I'll play it. Everyone's asking me to play this one here. I got a bunch of messages.
Hang on one second. Don't make one comment on that. On that note, have to think about this. What would benefit Netanyahu and Israel to start this Hamas group like Obama did ISIS, so he could have his little, what do you want to call it, a group where he could implement them in somewhere, and their collateral damage, Because if they needed to have a war, to start a war, to something to ignite it, right there it is. You put those guys in place, you push them through, you blame everything on them, and then you go to war on it. I think
of course. Look, I don't know what the thinking was the CIA, but Osama was put in power and funded to fight the Russians in the 70s. That's what he was there for. And so
do you honestly think, and all the things that have happened with Osama bin Laden, do you think that guy was sitting on a sat phone inside of a cave making airstrikes and calling out and having all this put together? Do you think that went on? Do you think that guy was that guy to do that, or was it actually maybe the Israeli Mossad and our CIA plotting to do it all, using him as a scapegoat?
If anyone ever found out that the CIA was responsible for bombing up the World Trade Center, there was no way that could happen. Look,
that's why they censor 9/11 so much. That's why you see all these engineers and stuff.
Listen to me. He trained the Saudi Arabians. They were Saudi Arabian. They came over here. They trained in flight school here. They weren't that good at pilots because this guy flew the damn plane. And
when you're done, you're gonna like
I think he could have pulled it off. I think they did crash the planes. They did crash the planes into the towers. They didn't blow them up. There were planes crashed in the towers. And listen, all the combustible agents that are in a building, can heat up more than 2,600 degrees and burn those columns. So those steel columns
jet fuel can't do that. Jet fuel can't get that hot. I know for a fact because I run jet fuel in my race car.
It wasn't just jet fuel.
I was an iron worker by trade.
Listen to me. It wasn't just jet fuel. Now, you're not paying attention. It was not just jet fuel. You had office equipment, computers, carpets, drywall.
No.
Yes, all that's in the building. What are you talking about? All that's in the building that ignites.
A controlled demolition where a building falls in its own footprint is only done by one way. Controlled demolition where, and they've just come out, another 9/11 report has come out.
The building swayed. The building swayed. You could watch it sway.
No, they did not.
Yes, they did. I was in Connecticut when it happened. Listen.
How about
what do you mean what happened?
How about if them buildings swayed and fell down? Where was all the debris at? Because if you actually do the mathematics and these guys prove it, these engineers, there's like 1,500 of these guys, Joe. It's insane what they have proven.
Do you know how many other buildings were damaged by that?
13 stories high should have been bricks that high that you would have been able to get to, because that's how much rubble would have came down. 13 stories high.
No, the
feet.
Pressure.
Yes, it
no,
is.
The pressure sucked it down. The pressure sucked it down. Listen, I did a video on this on 9/11 where engineers explained it very clearly and from eyewitness accounts.
They did not put bombs underneath
there. They did not put bombs in the basement. There's no way. You can't keep a secret. You can't keep a secret among 10 people today. And they're going to tell me 1,500 people kept a secret to blow up a building?
The Israelis keep more secrets than anybody. The Israelis own the security company that had the people in that building. They own the transportation. The people where the security was at and where all the planes are taking off from were all by the same people that own the ones that do the security work in the two World Trade Center buildings.
They did not blow up those buildings. There's
2.5 months of doing nothing but wiring that place up for complete demolition.
Oh, yeah, nobody saw it. And nobody saw anything. You're telling me nobody saw anything.
They're supposed to be there. They're working. They're putting in, it looks like they're putting in a closed satellite TV or something. Or they're doing rewiring fire alarms. Who knows? But they had the access to that amount of time.
To what?
How many?
No way. They didn't put bombs in there.
They said the guys that do the controlled demolition, the controlled demolition stuff that goes on like in Las Vegas when a hotel
All right,
comes down.
Time out. Okay, hang on. Let's just say, for instance, you had men in there doing that. All right, who paid those men? Who supplied those men with the supplies? Where did the supplies come from? Who came up with the idea? Who's in charge of it? You're telling me all these people kept a secret all this time and nobody said nothing.
Well, we have to look at this. We have to look and see what exactly was said the day before by what's his name? The guy.
Hey John, put that 25-ton C4 on that beam right there. Sir, this is
not
C4.
How much,
okay, you think they're not going to ask questions? Come on.
That's not what it is. It's not what it is. It's not what it is, Joe. You have to look at exactly how the structure of a plane is, how explosives work, and how do you count? I worked as an iron worker. I built the Society building in Cleveland. I was up 57 stories in the air doing that stuff. Those buildings are built to take impacts. 100%.
Yes, they were.
Every one of those planes could have hit them buildings and they wouldn't fall down.
Well, how did they test it? When they flew planes in the building to test it? They knew it? In the field. They built the World Trade Center in the field and they flew a plane into it to see if it would collapse?
Hey,
what are you talking about? How did they test it?
Somebody had enough money. I wish somebody had enough money that would end all this bullshit and make the characters behind it all. Build another building like that. Build it identical. Fly a plane into a water.
No way.
You're going to have a whole other outcome.
No, what will happen if you fly a plane into it? What will happen? It will just burn?
Do you realize how big those beams are that you're talking about going up in that building? And if an airplane hits it, when an airplane hits something, if a bird hits the front of an airplane, you're lucky it don't crash.
You know that those buildings swayed back and forth. The heat was so intense for an hour and a half.
They sway every day when the wind's blowing, Joe. They have a pendulum system in them, just like a clock. That's what's down to the elevator shaft. I built the buildings, I know, but I'm trying to tell you.
They did not blow up those towers.
Columns that are 6 feet wide, but one side web of them, you could stand inside. You could stand inside it with your feet, and that's the middle of an I-beam. That's how thick those things are and tall they are. You don't cut those off at a 45-degree perfect angle like you saw all those pieces laying on the ground and the molten stuff underneath them. 2 days later they found hot molten still? It was burned. It had to be ignited and cut like that. If it was crumpling, it would have bent and folded. It's too much. There's too much building there to have everything not stacked up, really, especially two of them, Joe, side by side. Plus, they had that shit out of there in a hot minute. In a hot minute, all them dump trucks cleared. It's like they had a plan. It's like that bank robbery movie where them guys try to steal. I forget what movie it is, but they drive the dump trucks down in there, and I think it's with that Bruce Willis.
You watch too many Die Hard movies. Come on.
Well, that's the thing. The dump trucks, but all the trucks, they take all that debris out of there. Not a single piece of steel or anything was left for anybody to do any type of inspection on because they had taken it and shipped it and sold it already for scrap to China. That's a fact. Gone. How in the hell how did they plan that all? Well, I don't know. And the worst part of all...
No, that's not what they did.
You know who the dancing Israelis were? Did you hear that about the guys in the van that they seen? That the lady came out and said these people were out on the street.
Oh, God.
They were actually...
What are you talking about now?
Did you see that where they were filming it? These guys were filming it. These guys they're called the dancing Israelis. You have to Google it. What they were doing is they're celebrating the planes hitting the towers. But they're actually filming it because they knew it was going to happen. They go on Israeli TV. They do a show with this guy over. I don't know what the hell they're doing. You know what show it is. But I watched it. I don't know the name of it. I'll get it for you if you want me to. But these guys, three guys, sit right there, the dancing Israelis, and said, we were sent there to document what was going to happen. How the fuck did they know what was going to happen?
What are you talking about?
They couldn't have known.
What are you talking about?
They're here. They're part of it. And they were part of the other stuff.
You're telling me, listen, if anyone, of all those people, hang on now, all those people, you're telling me all the people were standing in the street looking up at the sky and there was dancing Israelis standing in the street dancing? Every New Yorker would have beat the shit out of them.
They were off the roadway. They were like on
something.
another part of the highway. They were on another part of the highway.
And they got run over. Because New York, let me tell you something, they take that very personally, 9/11. And if anyone was celebrating or cheering, they would have got thrown off that bridge. You know, and there was nobody dancing.
When you play the next video, Google the dancing Israelis, and you'll shit when you see it because they're not right downtown. They're outside, a ways away, so they can film the actual planes doing it, and they're cheering it on because they know it's coming. Boom, boom, yes. And they got caught. They were one of the vans. They were actually caught. They were detained by New York City Police Department, and they were let loose. Look at it. Look it up.
All right, now listen.
Shit. I bought that article. This lady said, these guys are outside dancing in the street. I'm like, how can they be dancing?
All right, now let's look at engineering here. Read this here. All right, though the World Trade Center tower stood over 1,360 feet above the street level, the structure's bases were actually set 70 feet into the ground, and one had 100-foot tall antenna on top of it. So with a 205-foot width, they had a lot of exterior area facing the wind, the engineer stated. He calculated that the approximate maximum wind shear force that a single face needed to withstand to be somewhere around 11 million pounds. The gravity loads weight produced by the towers at their bases were at on the order of 500,000 tons, the Fowler said. To handle these immense forces, the engineers designed the World Trade Center essentially as a large beam section, explained with another panel member, Robert McNair, president of the engineering from McNair and Salvia, called structural tubes in the business. Each twin tower was strongly framed in structural steel. The frame comprised inner and outer rectangular box tubes consisting of closely spaced steel box columns connected by steel spandrel members or truss beams that supported 40,000 square foot across braced floors, each nearly an acre in area. The impaneled engineers said this configuration created a complete exterior tube around the building and center tube down the middle. The 90-foot-long central core formed of massive vertical steel columns that held most of the building weight, contained elevator shafts, stairways, and utility spaces, they said. The core's columns were thicker toward the base to support the huge accumulated gravity loads. The outer perimeter tube, a type prefabricated lattice work with 61 14-inch steel beam columns spaced 39 inches on center on each building face provided all the bracing resistance against lateral and twisting forces from wind and seismic action. This exterior grid served as a moment frame, providing a large moment arm of torque against overturning and deflection forces. The outer tube bore part of the gravity-induced downward load, as well as they noted. The huge inner and outer rectangular tubes needed to be protected to maintain their structural integrity. So the floors acted as reinforcing diagrams or bulkheads, the term used in shipbuilding, said panel member Jerome Connell, professor of civil environmental engineering, MIT. The office floors, which each comprised a 35 to 60-foot clear span from the core to the exterior grid, were panelized structure members supported by open web joists with steel decks above them. He said the horizontal truss, can I fit it? The horizontal truss bolted and welded to the exterior grid and core column structures included stringers that provided increased damping to help make the structure less lively in the wind. According to Connor, each steel floor was covered with 4 inches of concrete with almost an acre of area for each floor and figuring about 100 pounds per square foot of area. He estimated that each floor system weighed about 3,200,000 pounds. Why the towers fell. Here we go. With all of its structure redundancies, the World Trade Center was probably one of the more resistant tall building structures, McNamara said, adding that nowadays they just don't build them as tough as the World Trade Center. His statement is bolstered by the fact that the support structures of both twin towers withstood the initial hits of the two airliners, despite the breaching of many levels of framing. After the deletion of key structural members from about the 90th to the 96th floor on the north face of the tower, one World Trade Center, and from about the 75th to the 85th floors of the south, east, and north faces of the south tower, 2 World Trade Centers, the building's skeletons found alternative paths to take the loads. Each impact and following explosion imparted first a large local lateral force that then omnidirectional force to the structures, together causing massive initial damage to the columns and floor systems at the elevation of the crash. Despite shocks, explosion estimated the equivalent to that of the 1995 truck bombing of Alfred Federal Building in Oklahoma City, about 400 tons of TNT. The towers remained upright. The buildings displayed tremendous capacity to stand there despite the damage to a major portion of the gravity system. And for an hour or so, they did stand there, McNamara said. The lateral truss systems redistributed the load when other critical members were lost. It's a testament to the system that they lasted so long. Newspaper and TV newscasts reported that the Twin Towers had been designated to withstand a collision with a Boeing 707. The events of September 11 show that this was indeed the case. However, the World Trade Center was never designed for the massive explosions, nor the intense jet fuel fires that came next to the key design omission. Professor of Civil and Environmental Engineering and panel member, the towers collapsed only after the kerosene fuel compromised the integrity of their structural tubes. One World Trade Center lasted for 105 minutes, whereas 2 World Trade Center remained standing for 47 minutes. It was designed for the type of fire you'd expect in an office building. Paper, desks, drapes, McNamara said. The aviation fuel fires that broke out burned at a much hotter temperature than the typical contents of an office. At about 800 degrees Fahrenheit, structural steel starts to lose its strength at 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit. All bets are off as 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit. All bets are off as steel members become significantly weakened, as he explained. Some have raised questions about the degree of fire protection available to the guard structure of steel. According to press reports, the original asbestos cementitious fireproofing applied to the steel framework of the North Tower at the lower 30 stories of the South were removed after the 1993 terrorist truck bombing. Others have pointed out the possibility that the aviation fuel fires burned sufficiently hot to melt and ignite the airliner's aluminum airframe structures. Aluminum, polyphosphoric, I can't pronounce that word, metal, could have added to the conflagrations. Hot molten aluminum suggests one well-informed correspondent could have seeped down into the floor systems, doing significant damage. Aluminum melts into burning goblet puddles that would pool around depressions. Such beam joints serve as openings in the floor, stairwells, and so forth. The goblets are white-hot burning at an estimated 1,500 degrees Celsius. At this temperature, the water of hydration in the concrete is vaporized and consumed by the aluminum. This evolves hydrogen gas that burns. Aluminum burning in the concrete produces a calcium oxide silicate slag over by a white aluminum oxide ash. all of which serve to insulate and contain the aluminum puddle. This keeps the metal hot and burning. If you look at the pictures of Iraqi aircraft destroyed in their concrete shelters during the Persian Gulf War, you will notice a deep imprint of the burned aircraft on the concrete floor. Though the Boeing 767 airliners that hit the towers were somewhat larger than the Boeing 707, and maximum takeoff weighs 395,000 pounds versus 336 pounds. The structures were designed to resist the planes carried a similar size fuel load as the older model, about 24,000 gallons versus 23,000 gallons, according to Castle. Most certainly, he continued, no building has or will resist this kind of fire. The sprinkler system, which was probably compromised, would have been are useless against this kind of fire, he said, adding the World Trade Center towers performed admirably as they stood long enough for the majority of the people to be successfully evacuated. Cussell also reported that he had made estimates of the amount of energy generated during the collapse of each tower. The gravitational energy of the buildings is like a water backed up behind a dam, he explains. When released, the accumulated potential energy is converted to the kinetic energy with a mass of about 500,000 tons, 5 times 10 kilograms by 8, a height of about 1,350 feet, 411 meters, and the acceleration rate of 9.8 meters per second. He came up with a potential energy of 10 to the power of 19, 10 to 12, or 278 megawatt hours. That's the power of that. That about 1% of the energy released by a small atomic bomb, he noted. The MIT professor added that about 30% of the collapse energy was expanded, rupturing the materials of the building, while the rest was converted into kinetic energy of the falling mass. The huge gray dust clouds that covered lower Manhattan after the collapse were probably formed when the concrete floors were pulverized in the fall and then jetted into the surrounding neighborhood of the kinetic energy, impacting the ground at only 0.1%. was converted to the seismic energy state. Each event created a magnitude earthquake, a magnitude 2 earthquake, as monitored at Columbia's University. So, I mean, it's
here, Joe. Now, wait a minute.
There's no way that they exploded.
Let me say something to somebody who worked in the industry. I worked in the industry. Now, let me explain something to you. All that stuff you just read sounds real good to everybody that's listening, because you know what? They can't put it with 1 and 1 and make 2, because I don't care if you take the precast flooring. All your bridge decks. All your bridge decks. So here, it's my furnace running. All the bridge decks you drive across in this country now are prefab. Okay, I can understand where you see that puff and that smoke going up. My complaint is that the outside rectangular steel tubes you're talking about, those are stronger because they're tubular than a regular I-beam where they're talking about the span in the center. That increases the strength. So therefore, their free fall theory is bullshit. Because if that was the case, and all that concrete if that all fell down through there, you would have to have that as much weight. See, now they don't tell you this. All that weight that you have coming down, they don't tell you how much each one of those things can withstand. That's where the whole thing is wrong. The actual force to crush that tubular frame to withstand all the weight above it, they don't give you that figure.
Time out.
But here's my thing. Wait a minute. Let me finish. Let me finish what I'm trying to explain to you. Wait a minute, Joe. Don't interrupt me. Let me finish what I'm trying to tell you. What I'm saying is, you can lose all the concrete and poof, it's gone. It's like dust. But here's the thing. Once the free fall starts, number one, if it's hit by something that's going to sway, it's not going to fall straight down. Number two, if it was to fall to the side, it would continue to fall one way. It never did. Therefore, everything from the ground to the basement up had to be somehow, the integrity was stopped, broken, and that's even where it was thicker at than at the top, where the initial hit takes from a plane. So you have to take into consideration, it's like standing up two baseball bats against each other. Now, you're going to stand on top of it and smash it down. Eventually, you're going to run out of power smashing it, and there's going to be stuff building itself back up. That's why I'm saying there should have been 13 stories high tall of metal. Nothing but metal.
There was.
No, it wasn't 13 stories.
Yes, there was. The heat of metal, yes, it was. The heaps of don't interrupt me now. You don't interrupt me. The heaps of metal
You just read
stood
the whole
actually
thing.
about
I listened to 55 times.
Oh, for God's sake!
Those guys that are reading that bullshit, that MIT bullshit, it's all just so you can read. You can read that to anybody. Now, all the connections. Why are they not contesting? They got the 1,500 actual engineers now. They say that everything in that the whole thing that them guys laid out for that was full bullshit. And then you have Silverstein that actually takes out an insurance policy on an act of terrorism on a building that he'd had to do this with. You know, just randomly, the sprinkling system doesn't work in a building that they just randomly had to take the asbestos out of. One of the two got to work. You either have to have the asbestos fire retardant on the beams, or you can't have people in the building, period. Or you have to have an actual functioning sprinkler system.
All right. Now, you said they put bombs
Too
there
much metal.
and blew up the building.
Way too much metal.
Let me finish. They put bombs there, you're saying, and to blow up underneath the building. Can I finish, please? Hang on.
Well, let me just
okay.
They wound up like a snake.
No, for God's sake.
On the outside.
If they blew up the building from the bottom up, why was there no explosions that were going outwards by the bottom?
There was.
No, there wasn't. I seen a video.
There's all kinds of videos of it now. There's a fireman there talking about it on the calls. You can hear, we have a secondary explosion coming from the basement. All kinds of calls like that now that we never heard from before. I don't understand it, but I'm just telling you. And here's the other thing. Let me ask you this. If all that went on, how come there has never been another building in this world ever that fell down that tall that was struck by a flame from a fire? They can show you buildings in Europe, all over the place, where they burned. They look like this. I don't even know what you call it. The Leaning Tower of Pisa, and it's still standing up, still on fire, but it still doesn't fall all the way down. They lie.
But there are no buildings.
This was a controlled demolition by the same
There are no buildings in the world that are that
system.
height. There are no buildings in the world that are that height.
Every building that's ever been that high, that's ever been struck or been hit
There
by
has
fire.
never been a building that high. There are no buildings that high.
Yes,
around
there has,
the
Joe.
world.
Yes, there has.
Where?
There's some bigger. Dubai.
Where? And it
Dubai.
caught on fire?
That's the tallest buildings in
And
the
it
world.
caught on fire? It caught on fire and was hit by a 7-foot.
Well, you better watch the
Was it hit by a jet? Was it hit by a jet?
Here's the best thing. Explain to me World Trade Center 3 then. Oh, 7. I'm sorry. World Trade Center 7. Not a plane hit that place. Not a single plane. Office fires that caught the curtains on fire. The paper in the paper machines burned it, and it was 57 stories high. Fell straight down in its own footprint. Identical. If you take all three buildings, all three buildings, no debris hit it. They hit each other. No, you can see it, Joe. You can see it. All the windows are intact. All the windows are intact. Not debris anywhere that broke anything.
The building was so damaged. Will you let me answer the question?
No.
The building was so damaged. Yes, it was that he went ahead and pulled it. He said he pulled it. That's what he said in his own words.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said.
Demolish the building.
Yeah, because that's controlled demolition to fall in its own footprint. It's exactly what it did. You take all three of the buildings and put them side by side on TV and watch them, straight down.
Can I finish,
have
please?
You ever seen that?
The building 7 was damaged. Hang on a damn second. The building was damaged from the World Trade Center, and he was set to demolish that building, and he said, go ahead and pull it. And he pulled it right that in the same day. Yes.
No. Where you got? No. Who's getting ready?
He demolished the building,
yes. Demolished? Are you nuts?
Yes,
it was not being set to be demolished.
Yes,
no, it was not.
That's why he took an insurance policy out on it.
What you're hearing. No,
my God.
You're mistaking what you're hearing. He said,
then why was it empty?
They already knew.
Then why was it empty?
They wired it. It was wired just like the other ones, but it was not to be demolished.
Will you listen to me for a second? Yes. Oh, for God's sake.
About the fire chief talking.
Listen to me for a second. I'm going to mute you because I don't like doing it, but let me finish. They wired the building to blow it up. That's why he took the insurance bill policy out on it. Okay? But the building became so demolished after the fires of the World Trade Center that they went ahead and said, pull it. Just go ahead and pull it and get it over with. And that's what he did. He says it in an interview.
Wait a minute. I'm talking about World Trade Center 7, not the other two.
I'm talking about Building 7. That's the 7.
Building
it was supposed
7
to come down.
Completely away from
Building
it's
7.
a block away or something.
It's not a block away. And even it wasn't a block away. It still get damaged. Okay, yes it was.
Joe, they show there's no broken windows in it after they fell.
All right, let me take a private caller here. Hang on, private caller. Okay, hang on. Private caller, hang on. Private caller, go ahead.
NIS is full of shit. If you look at the video, if you use common sense, you know that any building that has any kind of explosions, no matter what the height is, that it has to be it's going to tip over. 3 buildings cannot fall into their footprint all at the same time, and the third building was not hit by any plane. They said that there was a fire in the basement, a fire or on the first floor. So a fire on the first floor is not going to make a building that tall and also made out of fire retardant steel fall down the way that it did. NIS report is full of shit. Plus the people in the end on the 9/11 report, 5 of the commissioners quit because ostensibly they found that there was bullshit in the report and they didn't want to be a part of it.
Yep. Probably the same like the JFK report too, huh? Same kind of scenario.
Oh, yeah, with the pristine bullet. They had some bull showing a bullet as a pristine bullet with no dents on it or anything. It's amazing what the government thinks it can get over on the people, and they are right.
That's right.
Well,
That's exactly right.
You know what the official report says, Joe. This is what the official report says.
The NIS report said that as a result of the building, the landings keeping on falling, that it ruined the structures underneath, and that it kept falling down in a straight line. How does a building continue to fall down in a straight line without tipping over? No building in the world that has ever had to, controlled demolition is one thing. No building in the world that has ever had to, as a result of the fire, fallen, ever fell into its own footstep.
But there's no building in the world, Joe, that has ever been hit by a 767 at the same time.
It doesn't make any difference.
Can I finish without you interrupting me? Jesus Christ. There's no building, Joe, has ever collapsed or been hit by a 767 before like that. Like
the Empire State Building was hit by a plane during the World War II era. It didn't collapse.
1920 something. Yeah.
What size?
I think 1940, just before the King Kong movie.
What size? It does matter what size plane. It does matter.
Also, the fire lasted for hours, right? If the fire lasted for hours, then how does the building?
For 1 hour, 103 minutes of first,
you
second
know how
hour.
Fast jet fuel burns?
And then the first,
jet fuel
building
burned out supposedly within a few minutes, and the fire within the building structure itself was continuing on, and a lot of flammables in there. But how does a building
31,000 gallons of Joe? 31,000 gallons of jet fuel. Okay,
and the jet fuel, as you see in the video, blew itself up out of the window as a result of the contact and the fire in the building. But how does how does a building fall as fast as a free fall? How does a building fall as fast as free fall?
It can't.
Well, I just explained
it. Cut away from its own support. It has to lose its base support by the cuts of the angles. That's what I was saying. That if you see the structure, the old pictures of like the aftermath of everything where they have the firefighters, if you look at the columns that are actually coming up out of the ground, they are at a 45-degree angle cut on them. They're not cut straight across. They're not crippled and wrinkled. They are cut at an angle, so they slide into themselves towards the center, not the outside, because in that you lose the integrity of your fall. They cut them all it's like taking a piece of fishing string and through cheese, and you pull it down at an angle, and it slides right down, just like cutting down a tree. Same way you cut a tree down. When you cut it from the left and from the bottom up, you're going to have that fall that way. You control the fall. That's all it is.
The Bush family.
And for me being an Iowa, that just made me sick to my stomach to see that.
Hey,
over the
let
security.
Joe speak. Go ahead, Joe.
The Bush family took over the security of the building 2 years prior to the so-called disaster.
Bush family? What do you mean the Bush family?
The Bush, what's the name of that shit? It's called J. Damn it. I had the name of that too.
I don't believe it, Joe.
Over the security.
Joe, my argument is this, is that he's saying that explosives were put in the basement, okay, you know how many explosives would have had been put in the basement to blow it up and do a controlled demolition?
You're missing the point, Joe.
Can I finish?
Joe, you're not saying it right. Let me explain to you. Listen,
go ahead.
You put certain angles, certain columns on the building. These guys that do this demolition stuff you don't see a building blow up and it goes poof like you saw the concrete blow up. That's not the kind of explosion I'm talking about. I'm talking about something that burns so hot that it cuts the beam. It cuts it straight like a knife, and then it slides down on it. So it's not an actual real big explosion. It's almost like taking a roll of licorice, and it's got some kind of incendiary in it that when it gets so hot, it will cut through metal like now, boom. And that's what they're dropping over in Israel, too.
I think it's called iron pyrite or something like that.
Pyrite. Thermite.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's
thermite,
exactly.
pyrite,
so
or pyrite, thermite, something like In any case, I don't believe it, but it goes against me. For a while, I believed it because I had no knowledge of the way buildings fell, and I believed our government at the time. But when you take a look at the government, at the history of what the government does, when you take a look at buildings under controlled demolition, when you take a look at the history of buildings that have undergone fires and have not fallen into their own footprint, and once you're a certain height, Joe, you don't have to be 57 stories tall. If you're 20 stories tall, you have enough momentum there in order for a building either to fall into its footstep or to tip over. No other building in the world has ever fallen into its own footprint as a result of being in a fire.
That's a tall building. Tall buildings so close together.
Any building over 15 stories, yes, it's the first time that has ever happened, yes.
That's why.
And not only just one,
they want to do three buildings.
3 buildings in 3 hours.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Not one of them, 3 of them.
But you're telling me,
not once, twice, 3 times.
What you're telling me then, who did this and why?
Mossad. I'm telling you, we got a crooked 3
I'm asking Joe
somewhere.
First, Dave. I already heard you say who did it. To Joe, why?
It could have been Mossad. It could have been the Zionists. It could have been the globalists. It could have been who was it? It was Kissinger. Somebody had evidence against him in one of the buildings. Giuliani's. There was a case Giuliani was building inside one of the buildings, and the building destroyed the evidence. Plus, let's not forget, when the buildings came down, all of the steel was sent off to China. There was not an autopsy of the building.
I said that. You said that?
You said that?
Oh, yeah. I told him that earlier. I said, I can't believe they got it out of there that fast.
But listen to what you're saying, Joe. Now listen to what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're saying, now let's pretend I'm Kissinger, okay? And I'm trying to plot this to take down these buildings. Do you understand that what you're saying, that one man or a group of men in his circle are going to perform the largest and most heinous crime in the lifetimes of probably ever, okay, in America, the major superpower of the world, with the strongest military, strongest FBI, strongest CIA, secret intelligence, all black ops operation people, all types of money, and you're going to tell me that this guy's there's no way he'd be able to live with himself or engineer something like that, or a group of people would be able to engineer something like that and still be able to keep it a secret. And I'll finish, for God's sake, and be able to keep it a secret.
Well, I heard that argument
they haven't
too,
kept it
but
secret.
the thing
They've been
is
involved in
that...
every goddamn war in the world.
Oh, God.
They've been. What do you mean, go God, Joe? See, these people are. This is the first time this guy did this.
Dave, I'm asking both of you the question, but both of you can't talk at once, and you keep cutting me off. So let Joe go first, and you can make your comment. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, as Dave was saying, is that there are conflicts in the world that have been caused by the New World Order. The Rothschilds, the Zionists, the Federal Reserve, any country that has a central bank is owned by that bank, and that bank makes money off of war more so than any other endeavor that it engages in. And of course, I've heard that particular retort that it is such a crime that it couldn't have been kept secret. Well, we have a lot of conflicts that are being done and originated by the globalists, and they're kept secret. And let's not forget, back in Germany, what got Hitler into power? It was the what was the name of that building that got set on fire as a The Reichstag fire. Yeah.
Burned it down.
So that was done. And,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
And, you know, when you take a look at the history of corruption, to me, once you do your research, it's easy. Yeah. The Bush family took over the security, which meant that they would allow anybody they wanted to, if it was on weekends, in order to go inside and put in the pyrite or the thermite onto the pillars and arrange for the explosion. And then they said, well, it was Saddam Hussein, or who was the other guy?
I forget. But who would ignite it, Joe? Okay, arrange for the explosion. Okay, obviously there has to be a control switch. There has to be someone pulling the trigger. Who would do all that? From what distance? Nobody detected it. How do you pull this off?
How about Cheney? Cheney could have done it. Why not Cheney? Why not the Bushes? It wasn't. Didn't Bush publicly say? Didn't Bush Senior say publicly that he wanted to usher in a new world order?
George Bush Senior did, yeah.
Why not Rumsfeld?
Yeah.
Donald Rumsfeld the day before, or 2 days before, makes the announcement to the public that there's some kind of, I don't even know how many trillions of dollars that come up missing. They don't have no explanation for it. There's mishandling of funds. And guess where the Pentagon gets hit at? By an airplane. They don't find any seats. They don't find any wings. They don't find any parts of the motors. No motors nowhere of an airplane that hits it. You know.
Yeah, I kind of missed it in that video. Where does he talk about that? What's that got to do with the World Trade Center?
I don't know, but
Pentagon catching on fire?
I know where it hits the building at. Exactly in that one room was destroyed, like it was hit with this J-dam or something new, pinpointed accuracy. Because it blew up all the information, it would have led to all that money who was involved in that money being gone. That's awfully
Well, you know what? It's real believable.
And I never saw it playing in the video.
We hear about all this stuff, though. Okay, it's like Sandy Hook. Oh, it was a setup job. Those are real parents that lost their children. There was no setup job there. There was no provocateur that went in there and shot up the school, was paid, and those were all actors, crisis actors. Those are real parents. I'm from Connecticut. I know some of those people. They lost children for real. Okay, that was a real
Joe,
shooting.
What about the other one, though? What about the one with the lady with the other shoes on? The one that shooting took place where they had that person going and shot and had the different shoes on upstairs after they shot him. How did that happen?
Well,
I'm not saying somebody didn't die in a school shooting, but there was, they do some kind of bullshit.
I mean,
I'm talking about a video.
I know they
My
play
video
with that.
showed the shooter.
These videos are alternate documents.
Yeah.
I can make a video that you're shooting the president. I can make a video that you're shooting the president and play it, and you'll look like you doing it. That's how technology is today. So I don't believe anything.
Yeah, I understand it, but here's the thing. When you have a video come out that shows no increment break within about a 2-minute span, nothing changes. They show in the clip after clip after clip where she's moving around from wherever the damn surveillance is coming from. But downstairs coming in the door has one pair of color shoes on. Upstairs where she shot, what'd she do? Take a time out and change her shoes? She wasn't carrying book bags.
No, they can make it look like she's wearing the technology.
No.
Okay. Yes.
No. You know what you have? You know what we have technology in today is to fool the people to believe that this government that's running this shit show doesn't give a shit about us and wants us dead. They don't give a damn. And the sooner everybody starts to realize that all the wars that everybody's had to send their children to die, that my father fought in, and people die because these bastards have the power and they are given the power to control
Everything is not one big lie. Everything is not one big lie. There's not all this stuff happening, okay? Aliens are not down here playing with us.
I didn't say nothing about aliens, but are you going to tell me that you believe your government will wholeheartedly and you trust it?
No. Am I saying that? No. But I'm telling you, our government's not out there killing people. Who is the government again? I've said this at the beginning of the show. Who's the government? What are you talking about?
We don't have a good government. The last time we probably had some decent people and actually that were elected officials, I'm going to probably say, I don't know. Let's call it
Who's the government?
1900 because by the time the Federal Reserve got put in place, everybody was goddamn corrupt. They're all involved.
Who's the government? Who's the government?
Well, that's the what do you want to call them? The Zionists, the globalists, the same people that got the. That's who they are. They don't tell you that's who they are because all of a sudden they just show up. But they're the people.
So you're telling me. Hang on. So hang on. So you're telling me that there's people overseas that are in suit and ties that call themselves the Zionists, right? And they're controlling everything, and they're making school shootings and stuff like that, and they're just pulling the switch to our everyday life. Well, wherever they're at,
what are you talking about?
Wherever they're at, they could be on the moon for all I care. I don't know. Wherever they're at.
Governments. That's how close they are. Locally.
They're in our local
government. That's why everything's falling apart. Absolutely.
Does anyone have contact with these people?
Look at your law. Look how
slow down, for God's sake. Do people have contact with these people?
Well, yeah, they work with you. They walk around with you.
They do.
Well, apparently.
Have they ever walked around with you? I don't know who these people are. I'm trying to figure out who they are.
I don't vote for them. I don't vote for any Democrats or anything bastards.
Who are they?
I just told you. They are people that believe that Judaism,
people,
whatever.
Do they have a name?
Yes.
Do they have a name?
Let me spell it for you so maybe you can get through. ZION.
Oh, God.
ISTS. And that doesn't necessarily mean they have to be overseas. They tell you
who are the Zionists?
Joe Biden said he's a Zionist. How about that? Right there.
Joe Biden is a Zionist.
Joe Biden said
Joe
he's
Biden's
a Zionist.
Okay.
Yes.
Who else?
I'll send you that video too. You can watch that one.
Who else?
Or he claimed he was, I'm a Zionist. And laughs. I'm a Zionist.
Who else? Who else?
Doesn't matter who the president is. If the president
well, you're talking about them committing the largest crimes. You're talking about them committing the largest crimes on destroying the world. Certainly, I would like to know who they are. Who are they?
I don't know who they were. Let's go back as far as the Bolshevik Revolution.
What do you mean you don't know who they are?
I don't know who they are actually individually by name. Communism.
They don't know who they are.
They're all the same.
So we just give these people a title, and we call them criminals, and we don't know who they are. That makes a lot of sense.
Well, we call them Jews. We've done that with Jews, right?
Listen to me. I'm not talking about Jews. I'm talking about the Zionists right now.
I am.
Let's not go switch from one to another. Okay, but who are these Zionists? Who are they?
They're the people that we have put in office. Yeah. Joe Biden's one because he says it in person on television. I'll get the list out for you. You know what? Never mind. I forgot I got my list down here. I'll get you.
I'd like to hear the
names, Joe. Because you know what I do?
I want the names. I want some names.
Well, I sent you one already earlier. Did you get the one about
we keep saying the government. Joe. All right, now hang on. Joe's the guy that likes to get to the bottom of everything. Guy, Cave, calm down. We'll get the list.
Let's do this.
Joe.
All right,
Joe. Hang on, Cave. Calm down. Joe, you're a guy that likes to always get to the bottom of things and stop with the background noise too. Please. Joe. I'm going to mute that the next time it happens because that's ridiculous. Go ahead, Joe.
Because I'm doing my laundry.
Well, I'm doing a podcast, Joe.
Well, you're usually cooking and typing something on that goddamn thing.
Joe, are you there, Joe? I don't know. Now I lost Joe. All right. I want to know who these Jews are, who the Zionists are. Who are these Zionists? Who are these mysterious people that are called?
They're not mysterious, Joe. They're right in front of you.
No, they're not. I don't have anybody in front of me right now. Nobody's in front of me right now.
He said right in front of you. Joe Biden, right on television, told everybody he was a Zionist.
The problem is everyone's throwing this stuff out there, and and maybe this is all a bunch of
because they can't say anything because of anti-Semitism. Anytime you accuse these people of anything, they're the same group of people that hide behind anti-Semite bullshit, and they want to have you locked up because they got the power to do that. Now that's the thing.
I want to know who these people are.
They're elected officials.
All right, let me go to another private caller here. Private caller. All right, 907. I see 907. I don't see you.
Okay, I'm back. Okay. All right, I'm going to have problems with my phone. I know. If you want.
All right, I got to mute. I got to mute you, Dave. I mean, I'm trying to have a conversation here. You're not helping me. Go ahead, Joe.
Okay. Joe, you're right to ask for names. There's a guy named Quigley. He wrote a book, something about the world. I forget. It's about 500 pages. He used to be part of the Illuminati. He wrote a book about them. Also, there are books about the Illuminati. There's one guy, I forget his name. He was on America's Got Talent. He had an hour-and-a-half video naming the people who are Luciferians and how you could identify them through the types of signs that they make, especially when they're in public, in order to show that they're part of the Luciferian sect. And if it's not for Quig, Q-U-I-Q, Ley.
Okay,
Quigley.
Dr. Quigley. Yeah, I've heard of him. Yep. I got 907 on here too, Joe. 907. I got their hand up too. Go ahead, 907.
I got those names for you too, Joe.
Yes.
Got those names for you.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Go ahead, 907.
Okay, I'm gonna take this conversation back a little bit. Okay, with the Twin Towers coming down. All right, 2 of you guys are sitting in there claiming that the towers were brought down by explosives to come down vertical in their footprint. The question I have for you guys, do either of you have any experience with explosives?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
I'm glad you asked
no.
that.
Go ahead.
Absolutely.
Okay. Do any of you have experience and knowledge of how you bring down a building?
Actually, yes, I do, because I was a structural steel iron worker for 18 years.
Did you ever bring down a building?
I never actually did controlled demolition, but we were there to watch exactly how it came down because we put it up. Yeah,
okay.
I have to watch it
That's
every
fine.
day, every aspect of it.
Now, question. Hang on. Do you guys know how long it takes to prep a building to do that?
Absolutely, it does. It depends how many people you have on the job, first of all. To do the World Trade Center, let's say one building, let's pick one, just say Tower 1. You could have had 10 people for the time allotted to go into that building if they were in disguise and worked late at night by like Joe was saying, the security company was owned by the Bushes. These people had opportunity to come and go in there so it doesn't look like a rush job. They were supposed to be there. People got familiar with them being there that long, so it wasn't done in 2 days. We're talking about something that probably took a month with a group of maybe 10 to 12, maybe a couple more, consistently every day working to do that, because you don't have to go one floor at a time. You're not wiring the entire building. That's what you have to understand. The exterior of that building, the way that building was made, the centers of it, the only thing going through the center of that building is the actual elevator shaft and the pendulum. That's to control the sway from the wind. Now, the open floor plan that they had, because of the rectangular shape of the outside, makes it that much easier to drop that building in its own footprint, because you have to only concentrate on the exterior of the building. Therefore, if you had 10 people on a floor per day, it wouldn't take very long if they knew what they were doing. Honest to God.
Uh-huh.
Now, if it was, it couldn't have been 2 days. In no way 2 days. And I'm not sure how tall exactly the numbers are from going from the ground or the basement. Actually, you want to start in the basement. But I don't think you have to do every floor. That's not the thing. Because they would have figured out through in their how you want to say it, their formula, they may have only had to do, let's say, every 6 floors. They would have wired one to where to cut away the exterior tubes, therefore causing that weight of those 6 to fall down into the next 6. Not
I got a private
every
caller on here
floor.
too.
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay, now, hang on. Okay, all right. You make a little bit of sense there, but here is my last question. Okay, you wanted to create maximum terror, kill multiple thousands of people, more than what were already killed. Why? And here's my big question: why would you want to go through all that trouble to ensure that the building itself came straight down in its footprint? Wouldn't you want it to fall over onto other buildings and other places to where you could kill more people by the falling debris?
Not necessarily, because if you do that, you bring that much more attention.
Why didn't they do that? Why
because
didn't
they didn't probably want that much attention. I don't believe they did that because one reason was they actually. The more people you kill, the bigger the atrocity. The bigger the atrocity, the more attention you're going to get.
You ask a question, okay? why they didn't want that much attention? Excuse me. What the fuck did they do on 9/11?
That's fear. All they did was project fear.
What the fuck did they do on 9/11? They
projected fear. They didn't want to kill all kinds of people because they wanted everybody to worry all the time.
They had maximum attention from the time the first airplane flew into the building until 4 months later. They had maximum attention. Why wouldn't what more attention could be have been gained had you brought those buildings over into other buildings, other blocks? 1,000 feet will wipe out another 10 blocks of 10 blocks. Fucking another 10 blocks.
Imagine the attention.
Of
Imagine the damage.
Wouldn't you?
Well, here's the thing, though. How many people in 10 blocks are related to them people?
Shut up. Wouldn't you want to do that?
No, I'm not going to shut up.
You want to... All right, listen, I'll tell you what.
You want answers to questions. I gave you what you wanted. I told you exactly what it is. I'm the one. You want to act like you're going to tell somebody they don't know what's going on, or do
you know the one thing you haven't done? You know the one thing that you have not done?
I know what you ought to do is kiss my ass. How about that?
Yeah, you know what? When you produce...
Tell me something I don't know, because you're another one that's stupid.
Shut up. When you produce all the fucking material...
You're not my father, you're not my mother. You're not going to tell me to shut up.
And when you produce all of the fucking material that you reference and try and produce it and put it up and post it, then maybe I will believe you. But other than that, you're just a fucking bag. You're just a fucking bag of hot air. You're just a fucking bag of hot air.
Go on, fucking Joe Biden's little bitch boy, Zionist faggot. Fuck off.
All right, private caller. I got a private caller on here, too. We want to jump into conversation
here? I got your name, too, Joe.
All right, hang on.
Well, I don't necessarily want to change the subject because it's definitely getting kind of heated and kind of interesting, but I just like y'all to hear a 31-second clip from Donald Trump, who is speaking on something that all of us are very concerned about, and that is these goddamn elections that are going to keep us from electing the kind of people we want to have in office to begin to make an attempt to reverse some of this insanity without having to resort to bloodshed and warfare, civil warfare. Okay. So I'd like you to listen to what Donald Trump said, because it's just breaking, and it's very pertinent to what we've been talking about for months now. Listen to what Donald Trump just said. Check this out.
Fulton County, Georgia acknowledges in a major consent decree that 3,600 individual ballots were duplicated. 36 batches of them were duplicated. That's a lot of crime. 3,600 votes. That's really a lot of crime. When are the rest of these facts coming out? We're all waiting. This is the beginning of an unbelievable period of time. This is massive voter corruption.
Now, check this out. Here's the background on this story. All right? Now, remember, we had the 135-page order. Mike Lindell's talking about 135-page issued by a judge condemning the voting machines in Georgia. We got the 152,000 ballots that were suspicious ballots marked for Joe Biden, obtained by the court for examination by the court, that now all of a sudden they're missing. Now we got 3,600 illegal duplicate ballots that Fulton County admits to. So if you have 3,600 in one country and you multiply a similar number in all 159 counties in Georgia, you could potentially have, and I'm not saying it's the number, I'm not talking about potentiality, potentially 572,400 illegal and duplicated votes. Now, did all that happen during the water pipe bust? Remember, Fulton County is a county of Atlanta. Remember, it was in Atlanta they had the water pipe bust, which was no water pipe bust. We know that was phony. So President Trump told us all along he had the evidence. We're starting to see it come out. Drippity drip, drippity drip. The only thing is, I know Fatty Willis is going to do her damnedest to keep this evidence out of court. in the case she had against Donald Trump.
So what you're saying is Sarge is able to put together and find out where exactly these ballots were and where they went and how they came about. Is that what you're saying now?
Well, that remains to be seen. But remember, Fulton County admitted to this, according to Donald Trump. Fulton County said they had these duplicated ballots. It's not people accusing Fulton County of it. In a consent decree, the officials, election officials in Fulton County admit to it. Now, of course, they're going to say it was just bookkeeping errors, but it opens their door to a deep dive inquiry into what happened in Fulton County. And I believe that was primarily where the election for Joe Biden was stolen, right there in Fulton County.
Yeah, and that's key. If they openly admit it, Sarge. If they don't, then Trump is just full of hot air, you know, because I mean, I'm not saying he's lying. I'm just saying. And
well, he can only do so much, you know. Remember, he's only repeating what the officials in Fulton County have admitted to. He's not accusing them. He's reporting what they are admitting to.
Sarge,
go ahead.
Sarge, I'm not going to contradict you, other than the fact that that news of Fulton County, I saw that. I can't remember exactly where, but it was out about a week ago, or maybe late last week. I saw a story on that. So
yeah. Okay. This is the first time Trump has weighed in on it.
It's not like it just happened, you know, this minute. It was just that it finally has gotten some.
You're right about that. But I guess
national recognition.
Yeah, I guess the reason I'm saying is because this is the first time Trump has weighed in on it. That's going to make it very difficult for the mainstream press to ignore. Now that Trump has weighed in on it.
I am absolutely positively giddy about the Fulton County indictment because, you know, nobody, all the court cases that were brought in after the 2020 election that were thrown out because they did not have standing. Well, you know, all that evidence right now with Fulton County is going to fucking come out.
Yes.
It's all going to be presented. And I am just so fucking happy that between her and Jack Smith, they are my new heroes because they're bringing all that evidence into court.
Okay, listen to this. According to the Totenberg, there is sufficient cause to believe that there may be cybersecurity deficiencies that unconstitutionally burden plaintiffs' First and 14th Amendment rights and capacity to case effective votes that are accurately counted. What's more, in a footnote within her 135-page ruling, Totenberg said the evidence in the case does not suggest that the plaintiffs are conspiracy theorists of any variety. Indeed, some of the nation's leading cybersecurity experts and computer scientists have provided testimony and affidavits on behalf of the plaintiff's case that in the long course of this litigation, she wrote, that is going to expose everything. Lindell said during a Monday appearance on Steve Bannon's War Room podcast where he ripped off a tinfoil hat. So what you were saying that you heard about this last week, that's where you must have heard it, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
That's where it stemmed off from.
And here's another little interesting tidbit or data point for you guys to consider, okay? Mesa County, their prosecutor, I believe, has said that anybody in Fulton County that proceeds, or any precinct that proceeds to hand count ballots will be prosecuted under the law.
What?
What the fuck?
They hand count ballots? They'll be prosecuted. What?
They handed them out. Yeah.
Oh, handing them out.
You know something? Another thing I like to say too, guys. Look here. A lot of people ridicule Mike Lindell. They ridiculed him up and down one side and the other. But that man, God bless him, has stuck to his guns And now he is being vindicated for his courage and the business he's lost for doing what he's done, to try to bring to our attention all of these irregularities and violations of election law and the Constitution. And God bless Mike Lindell and others like him. For at the expense of great personal loss, they stuck to their guns, and now they're being vindicated. And I cannot speak more highly of persons like that. That is a profile in courage.
Now, the worst thing we got to worry about is what they're going to do next is distract us from, they're going to have some kind of bullshit blow up, do something evil to distract us from the truth of that stuff coming out. More so.
We got to be alert for it, then. We got to be alert for it, and we better not let them lose the focus on it. They stole the election. They stole this election from our president. They just did. We have a right to be able to expect there's enough integrity in an election process that we can be convinced of the legitimacy of the outcome. In this thing, there are just too many goddamn questions to ignore. Just too many.
Well, in the chat room there, you saw what Sally sent to the House Speaker there. She called up, and I called the House Speaker and left a message here tonight. So, everyone needs to do this. Everyone needs to get on board, and we need to start taking some activism to the streets. Start doing something, whether it's from your telephone or everybody wants to be keyboard warriors. Hey, there's your chance, so let's start doing it. Let's make our voices known. Let's get out there and do what we're supposed to be doing here. Let them know.
What about all these goddamn Republicans voting with these Democrats on every time the spending bill or something comes up, they jump ship and they go on the other side? It's so goddamn aggravating. You think you vote for somebody, you hope you get it. It's just such mind-boggling. They're all in it together. I think they all probably sit down at the same table and say thanks, and then say, "We got them today, boys."
Well, we know that already. Today. We know that. We don't need to listen. We don't listen. It doesn't matter. Who cares? The bottom line is what we're doing. What are we doing? What are we, the people, doing? Well, that's what the bottom line is.
Drag them all out by their hair.
Yeah, we already know there are people you're not going to be able to count on. We already know there's people out there we're not going to be able to count on. We just got to discount them and try to figure out ways to outflank them and maneuver around them. They're going to be there. They're just they're bought and sold, compromised, bought and paid for. And what we're going to have to do is figure out how we can neutralize them, because believe me, they ain't likely to change.
Yeah.
Well,
they're not going to change. That's for sure.
My question right now is, what are we going to do after and during the trials for voter fraud and intimidation, the January 6th, Fulton County trial, as the evidence comes out? What are we, the populace, going to do?
Yeah,
I don't think there's enough.
That is going to be one of the real serious questions that need to be answered.
Do you know how to type up a criminal arrest warrant?
The rest of our lives.
You know how to type up a criminal complaint with the U.S. Attorney's Office? They got them online. Everybody can type up their own and file it and send it in. The forms are there online before they take them down.
Joe, I think he's talking about more or less. During that process where we already had Antifa and these other bastards burn half the country down and got away with it. Are we going to be witness to that again and stand back and let it happen while the trials are completed, or are we going to stop them from doing it?
Yeah. Hang on, real quick here. Everybody, we're going into overtime, so if you hang up, you won't be able to get back in. 657-383-0616. I know some people are listening via the internet that wanted to call in, so you need to do it now. But anyway, what is it? No, yeah, that's a good point. Sarge, that's a good point also, Sarge. So if we get Antifa out there distracting the judges and the juries out there, putting fear into the juries.
We're not going to. Antifa's not going to have to distract us at all, because right now they're setting up a big war in the Middle East, if not the start of World War III, because of the fact that their little plan of COVID did not kill off enough people in this world. They still want to depopulate the world. So how?
Good point.
I mean, COVID didn't do it for them. So what's the other alternative that they've got?
Declare martial law.
No,
yeah,
lock us down that way.
They don't want to declare. They don't want martial law. Shit, they want people gone. They want people no longer on this planet.
Well, I mean, to interrupt the election process, whatever they can do to make it look like they're legally doing what they can do to interrupt any possible, like they're doing with Trump now with all this stuff, to legally try to get him off a ballot, or so they're gonna.
Well,
I don't know.
We just need to remind the American people that never, ever in the entire history of the United States has there ever been a period, even during the most darkest days of the Civil War, where presidential elections ever suspended for any reason whatsoever, or even seriously contemplated to be not held. So with that in mind, if they make any such attempt, we better be ready to fight it with every goddamn power at our disposal. Period.
Yeah. They were going to pull out all the stops. That would be one that they would go wholeheartedly with, because they don't care about killing us, and in every other way they can, they'll do what they got to do.
We got to make sure that we're listening to people that are talking substance too. All these people out there yakking just because they want to hear instigating. We have to be careful of provocateurs. That goes for our side too. Speaking of provocateurs, anybody wants to press number 1 and get on the conversation, you go ahead and press 1. I'll get you on here because my call board is full. But anyway, Sarge, down there in Georgia, you see Antifa, you see all these other groups. I'm just using Antifa as an example. I know there's many other groups out there and whatnot that are trying to distract the people from the real problems that we're seeing out there. But what they do is they put fear into these juries. And that's what you got to worry about. These juries have emotional verdicts instead of ruling upon the law or the evidence that they see.
Yeah.
And that's
like what we saw on Derek Chauvin in Minneapolis, which needs to be revisited.
Yep. Yeah. He again died from.
We had it here with the guy. These kids that are getting shot by the cops, because every time the cops go on trial, the people, the juries are swayed because they don't want to say, okay, yeah, the cop had a clean shoot, it was a good shoot. They don't say that because they're in fear of their town getting burned down. So I
don't want cops gunning down our citizens either. I don't want police gunning down our citizens.
I don't want anybody gunning down anybody. But when somebody does something legitimately incorrect in their line of work, and it's justified, and the people that are behind what the crimes are committing, and it's justified, then it needs to be that. Not you have to alter your decision because you're afraid to walk out of the courthouse because they're going to protest you, throw rocks at your cars, or block your streets, or burn your house down, whatever. You shouldn't have to live like that. They saw the justice in the Supreme Court go through that shit, and those people are
I just like to remind people: over 2 million arrests a year, maybe 1,000 people are shot and killed by the police, and most of them, the overwhelming vast majority, are legally and ethically justified. I have no problem with a police officer shooting a suspect if it is necessary because of an imminent deadly threat to them or another person. In fact, that's what they better do in order to protect themselves and another innocent party.
Sarge, I'm going to halfway disagree with you. How about stop engaging the general public and you wouldn't have half of this stuff? Half of these pullovers are harassing people. They don't need to pull people over and harass
we're
the
not
citizens
talking about that.
out there.
We're talking about people that commit a murder, do something stupid or violent. How about these kids walking around punching innocent elderly people? You don't think they need their asses beat? If they're stupid enough to have to carry a weapon, they don't need shot if they're assaulting somebody like that? That's what people were talking about. Not talking about people.
You're jumping all over the board here.
Obviously, look. We know how things go sideways in a traffic stop. Okay, that's one thing that's always subject to examination. I'm speaking about a clear-cut case of an officer in the course of making an arrest of a violent felon. They have to kill that felon in order to protect their lives, the life of another officer or another innocent party. That's the kind of shooting I'm talking about. And the majority of the shootings of police officers every year are that type of shooting.
Well, I think another problem we're going to have upon our hands real soon is going to be this infiltration of all these illegals that are going to be the ones committing crimes, and then you're going to have the left stand up and be pissed off because those ones that are raping or carjacking or whatever they're doing, is, like you said, Sergeant, it's a bad crime. They're going to be supposed to be given a pass because they're, I don't know what you want to call it. They're just here. They're looking for
victim oppressor narrative. Just follow the victim oppressor narrative. There you go. That's all you need to know.
Yes, that's it. I mean, that's going to be. I can only see that because the more of them I see that congregate and they look and they know and they watch on television, it's okay to go steal $1,000 from a jewelry store with these smash and grabs. You're not held accountable. You're not. If you're put in jail, you're let go in an hour or two. That just tells
Why are
them
they
to go
doing
do
this?
it.
Why are they doing this to these people? Why? You want to know why?
It's the corrupt
because
judicial
the
system. Zionists.
No, it's not just because of the corrupt judicial system. It's not because it is Zionist.
No, they're trying to put us in a state of anarcho-tyranny. It's called anarcho-tyranny. It is a deliberate procedure to make people dependent on the government and demand draconian solutions to the situations that they are creating, so they will have more control over us.
They want that martial law. They want to have our thumbs on us.
If you go into any city today, Sarge, go into any city neighborhood, tell me something. What jobs are there? What type of opportunity is there for anybody to bring themselves, pull themselves up out of these places? None.
Hey, let me respond to that, Joe. You know? How about if you go to find a job? How about if I go to some place that's got a business? How about if they're just open because somebody's actually working there? That's hard enough to find. McDonald's,
what are you talking
about? Drugstores.
McDonald's.
Everybody closes at 4 o'clock in the
that'll provide
afternoon
for
now.
your family. Yeah. That'll provide for your
insane.
family. McDonald's.
I mean, there's nothing there for
I
nothing more in the community.
I think Sarge got out.
I don't think the opportunities for the people in the communities aren't there because of the propaganda to make everybody think that it's okay that these reparations and all this shit like that, the people are oppressed and it should be paid this, give them this, or you have if you have to have a certain amount of people, minority status, to have be employed at a company. I mean, instead of just having the right person or the person that's qualified to do the job, if you have to take a test, if you have to perform your duty, the right, if you don't want a yo-yo flying in your airplane.
What I'm doing is this. I'm looking at small aspects of every argument and every angle, because no matter what, no matter how wrong the people are or how right they are, we still have to deal with them, okay? We're still going to have to deal with the citizens of this country one way or another, whether or not they're lost or not. Okay, we're not going to put them into ovens and gas them. We're not going to deport them. All right, we're still going to have to deal with these people. So I'm trying to use a different.
Wait a minute. You mean we're not going to deport them? Donald Trump says already if he's elected, he's going to have the biggest marching group through to round up these people.
I don't give a shit what he said. He didn't do it the first time around. Well, maybe he's not going to do it the second time around.
Well,
okay?
he's not. Yeah, but that's what needs to happen in order for us to have civility and be the people of America. Americans deserve to have America, not be walked upon. Send them back where they come from.
What do you mean? Deport people? Deport people, you're saying?
Absolutely, if they're not come through the process. If they haven't come through the process the right way,
yes,
like
if
all
they
these
cross.
people
I'm talking about the people that, for God's sake, I'm talking about all the people in this country that are living here, obviously, as citizens. I'm not talking about illegal immigrants that come across the border. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the people that are here, that these liberals.
No, I mean, I
sound like you meant no deportation for a minute long enough for me to finish my point. That's why.
All right? Done with the fucking point, Joe. You have the time you talk out the side of your mouth.
No. That's not half the time.
Half the time talking out half my mouth. Another half the time telling you to shut up. Deal with this. Every time you start this shit, Joe, all you say is you want the fucking solutions. You want the solutions.
There. Hey, everybody. Doesn't that sound much better? Oh, God. Doesn't that sound nice, everybody? Hang on. Isn't that nice? Oh, all right, there. Oh, man, my head is spinning. Geez, you can't have a conversation, you know? Am I right or wrong, people? Man, everyone's in the chat room yelling at me, telling me, yeah, Joe, we're trying to hear you. You can't hear you. Man. Dave, I'm trying to have a conversation with you, but you don't shut up long enough. I sat there and listened to you, and then every time I try to make a counterpoint, you start yelling. Yeah, you started arguing with another caller on here. I mean, man. Please have a conversation where we can talk back and forth, not yell. There's no reason for it. Lord have mercy. All right, Cade, go ahead. Now you're back on.
Yeah, let's do this. Let's go with Zionists. Get your pens and pencils out, ladies and gentlemen. And for the guy that says I don't know anything or whatever, tell him to fuck off because I got his name too. Janet Yellen, Secretary of the Treasury, Zionist. Merrick Garland, Attorney General, Zionist. Alejandro Mayorkas, Secretary of Homeland Security, Zionist. Imagine that. There's no evidence of that, though.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
All right, you're
Where's
saying
Avril Haines,
Avril
Haines, Director of National Intelligence.
All right, time out. That's
Ron
people.
Klan.
Okay.
Ron Klan, White House Chief of Staff. Four-star Middle, Rachel Levine, Secretary of Health.
Hang on.
Hang on a minute.
No, you hang on a minute. My podcast show. Now, all right, where's the evidence that they are Zionists? I would like to know. How do you know they're Zionists? Now, back over to you.
They've stated it. They fly the flag of Israel and the Judean religion. Now, let me continue. Anthony Blinken, Secretary of State.
That's your evidence.
Wendy Sherman, Deputy Secretary of State. Victoria Nuland, Secretary of Political Affairs. Eric Lander, Office of Science and Technology Policy. David S. Cohen, Director of the CIA. Zionist. Unbelievable. Lieutenant Colonel Jennifer Pritzker. There's probably about 50 more. Here's the other thing,
I don't want to hear
not
100
only the Zionists, but anyone.
All right, back off now. All right. Now, 907, would you want to ask him a question while I got him? Because I think you're really on the lines where I'm trying to find out how does he know they're Zionists. Do you have another way of asking him?
Do I have another way of asking him?
Yeah, because I'm trying to figure out.
No, I mean, he's claiming that just because they fly the Jewish flag or the flag of Israel, they're Zionists. I don't see how that makes them. I don't see how that makes them Zionists. But I do know. I do see where it makes him a strict follower of our buddy Adolf.
Okay.
That sounds exactly like 1939 Germany.
Because he says they openly admitted it, though. He said they admitted they were Zionists. I mean, I don't know. I've never heard them admit this, that they're Zionists.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, have you ever heard the CIA director say he's a Zionist? I never heard these people get on Fox News or even on any alternative media and say, I'm a Zionist. You know, have you or anybody else out there? Please call in or press 1. I appreciate it.
I still don't understand or know what the fuck a Zionist is.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good question. What is a Zionist and what does that mean? Dave, can you answer that, please? Let me unmute him.
You're gonna fucking unmute me while you talk shit? Hey, you don't want to know nothing. Fucking look it up. Do the research. No, Paul, you guys don't know what a Zionist is. Your president of your own country has said it live on television, but guess what you guys do? You don't know nothing about it. Unfucking believable. And you're going to question me? And I'm not got nothing to do with flying the Jewish flag. It's that
you're
these
the
people
one
claim to be Zionists. They said it outright in public. That's why I have it written down.
Never heard of them.
Never heard him say it.
I've never heard him say it.
Never heard him say it. Produce the clip then.
Can I have a clip? Yeah. Where they said they're Zionists? That'd be nice.
How many more fucking clips you want? I sent you 50 of them. How many more you need? Look at the ones I've sent you.
All 50 that you sent me don't say anything. Don't say anything about.
I don't have this clown's address. I'd send him one too.
Again, all 50 videos. You haven't sent me 50. You sent me about a dozen. And all that dozen,
okay, all right,
I would say none of them. Hang on, I'm getting right here.
To say I'm like Adolf Hitler, fuck you. Fuck you and fuck all of you. How's that? That's my Adolf Hitler.
Why are you mad at everybody else? Why are you mad at everybody else?
Because somebody's going to call me Adolf Hitler. I don't fucking murder people.
But what's everybody else
I'm not
got
a
to do with
fucking
it?
asshole idiot. But see, I'm the fucking target because I have the fucking information. Once you're over the target, or you have your hands on the target, you know what's going down, and you bring it to the light and bring it forth to people, you're a motherfucker because you believe the propaganda by the fucking people that push this shit to let this country to get the fuck where it's at. And you want to ask for solutions. But when I try to tell you what a solution is, these people have to be held accountable. Nobody wants to hold nobody accountable. They want to sit back and say, oh, he's a fucking Adolf Hitler. He's a Semite. No, I'm telling you what the fucking problem is. I don't have a problem doing anything to fight for my country and my beliefs. That's the fucking difference with me.
Dave, because when we say we want to hold people accountable.
Shut up and say what you're going to say.
Dave, calm down. Calm down.
Fuck off.
Calm down, Dave. Calm down.
Calm
down.
I am calm. That's the problem. That's the problem.
The problem is you're rambling on and you're talking stupid. Now
quit drinking, Joe. Quit drinking and having your podcast, Joe.
I don't drink, Dave. I don't drink.
I know.
Okay.
I'm
Dave, I don't drink.
Hitler, though. Watch out.
Dave, I don't drink. Did I call you Adolf Hitler, Dave? Did I call you Adolf Hitler?
No, but you let that motherfucker do it. That's okay, though. That's all right. That's
I don't have any control. But see, that's the difference between my world and your world, Dave.
Fucking white.
All right, off you go. This is the difference between my world and your world. You see, I can't control people, and I don't want to control people. You see? Okay? I don't control anybody. They're allowed to say what they want when I unmute them, within reason. And I'll mute them, too, if they get out of control, like you're getting out of control. Okay? Then I'm going to unmute you again. We would like to know if there's any evidence out there, because the videos that you've given me, nobody admits to being a Zionist. Okay? So, please. Go ahead,
Joe Biden turns to the camera and says, yeah, I'm a Zionist. Let me find that one, too, right? Okay, let me dig that up.
I'd like to see that.
You won't do it.
I really would like to see that.
Okay.
I really
all right.
would. I'm not the 1%
Go ahead and put me on mute while fucking Osama bin Laden's blowjob base talks shit about me.
Who's that?
Fucking people, I swear to God. Got no fucking heart at all. No dignity and no heart because you're giving me a hard time because I'm calling out the problem and telling you what it is, just like 109 other fucking countries did. Because, hey, I guess it's got to knock on your door, affect your family firsthand in order for it to be a recognizable problem.
What's going to knock on my door?
The same goddamn people are trying to
What's going to knock on my door, Dave? What are you talking about? What are you talking about right
Nothing.
now?
I said when somebody knocks on your door with it's got this problem, the fuckers who want to collect your guns or they want to fucking take your property or your home from you because of bullshit, because you want to say you say something because you're standing up for fucking being an American, and then you got motherfuckers like this to hide behind people like me because that motherfucker ain't never going to get up and fight nobody. You're going to stand back there and watch and talk. That's all the problem with all this bullshit.
You're talking about 907,
I'm so pissed off right now. You call me that's twice on this show. You've let people fucking say that shit to me. Call me the
Dave, I can't let people do anything, Dave. Dave,
right.
I can't let people do anything. I don't control anybody when they talk, okay?
I know. You know what? You control me, muting me. That's okay, though. That's all right. Hey, we know it's all. Hey, I ain't said nothing. That ain't true. I don't fucking say things that are false. Just like when you ask about questions about information about explosives or structural steel. You know, there are people that have done this kind of stuff that are actually involved that know this stuff that are trying to tell everybody in this fucking country, wake up. But guess what? It's too much work to do. It's too much to stand up and do something, say something. But everybody wants a solution. The only solution to everybody's problem that keeps asking that is to ask what the solution is again. Because they're not going to do anything about it. Nothing. They're not going to do a goddamn thing about it except wait to see what the next guy like me that has to do something because it comes to my door or I confront it when I see it.
The meaning of Zionism.
And I have no problem doing that.
Zionism. Okay, all right now. The meaning of Zionism is an international movement originally for the establishment of a Jewish national or religious community.
What receipt do you have saying that? What's your receipt for saying that? Let me see. Where you get that information? What is it?
Merriam-Webster Dictionary. Merriam-Webster Dictionary. You can't even slow down long enough to listen. Merriam-Webster Dictionary.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Now we've all agreed on other shows that communism, Marxism, nationalism, extremism, anything that ends in ism, Zionism is bad. They're all intertwined. Look back. Look at everything that's going on with the bad shit that happened all over the world.
Okay, but who are they?
Tell me where they're
who
not
are
at.
they? I want to know who they are. I want to know who they are and how they got there and why they're there.
You keep asking that question just like you want the solution. You're asking them an
because
impossible fucking question because if
can
we knew exactly who they were.
Speak to me like an intelligent individual, or are you going to keep yelling?
I'm not yelling.
You know, I'm asking you. Yes, you are.
No, I'm not yelling.
You don't even know it. No.
Then turn my volume down on your phone because your phone sucks. Because it sounds like you're the one in a tunnel or underneath a rock. My phone's fine. I'm not yelling.
Dave, where are the videos that they claim that they're Zionists? Because I don't remember Joe Biden even saying that, to be honest with you.
I know. I'm going to get to it. I'm busy right now waiting for somebody else to say something fucking smart. So I'll get you that and I'll send it to you. And then you can forward it to the rest of them. But I'll show you Joe Biden right off the bat.
Okay. But Dave, I don't want to watch a 50-minute video and he doesn't say it now.
How far up do you need
to
say it?
I don't want to hear Joe Biden lecture for 55 minutes, and I don't hear him say, I'm a Zionist.
I don't care. Then that's your problem. That's your problem. That's your problem because you haven't heard him say it. That's because you have to listen to the bullshit, believe it or not.
I can't make things up. See, this is the danger, Dave, that we run into. This is why the message you're talking right now isn't being sold across America. Because of the way you're presenting.
Oh, it's not. No, why it's not being sold across America? Because the fucking people that are the ones running the propaganda machine feed you your information, which you don't want to listen to.
No, Dave.
Yes.
The way you're presenting yourself, okay, nobody's going to listen to that.
Right, because I'm telling you
nobody's going to listen to that.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you're right or you're wrong. It doesn't matter.
Me and my job to hear, the reason I didn't die when I was supposed to die already was because for some reason I got intertwined in this bullshit where I have this anxiety and determination to try and figure out who these bastards are because people like you keep asking and I don't have the answer to it. But I know they're among us. That's fucking clearly evident. But yet we just want to say, okay, who is it? Well, no, they didn't say that because I didn't hear that on Fox News. You're not going to hear it from Fox News.
Instead, Dave,
you didn't hear anything about the Hamas, or did you, Joe?
You interrupted me again.
When's the last time you heard about Europa? How did you hear about Europa?
You interrupted me again.
When did you find out about Europa? And how?
Oh, God. That's
how did you find out about Europa the last battle?
All right, there we go. Dave, I can't even answer you anyway because you won't let me. You know, every time I try to answer you, you just yell right over me. I mean, okay? I mean, what the hell's wrong with you, man? You know? For God's sake. All right, what's Sally typing in the chat room here? Founded in 1897, the Zionist Organization of America played a key role in the Jewish state's reestablishment. Today, ZOA is the leading major American Jewish organization courageously defending Israel and the Jewish people, fighting against all forms of anti-Semitism, including anti-Jewish boycotts, and promoting the Jewish people's lawful right to live in and settle in historic Jewish lands. ZOA exposes that a Palestinian state would endanger Israel's existence, presents the facts about the Arab Islamic war against Israel, and combats the anti-Israel lie that Israel is an occupier of her own land. ZOA spearheaded 2 long successful battles to move the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem, to obtain a U.S. recognition of Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights, to deport Nazi war criminals, to apply federal civil rights protections to the Jewish students, and more. ZOA provides free legal assistance and programs to pro-Israel students at numerous colleges, campuses. ZOA's bold, unapologetic voice has a significant impact on public disclosure and policy. And you see, the reason why I'm going to agree with that statement is because this is an example here. And Dave, what you're doing is we can't all lay down and say, Dave's saying, get these people, or somebody saying, get these people, with no proof. And then when someone asks for proof, you snap at us. And then you put us in the category, and that's dangerous, that doctrine. Nobody's going to listen to that. Nobody will listen to that. If you want to rally people to your cause and to what you're trying to say, yelling at them and MFing them and telling them they're a piece of crap is not going to work, man. It's not going to work. It just doesn't work. Maybe 200 years ago it worked. Maybe in the 1930s it worked. But it's not going to work today. You know, I'm surely everybody could agree with me on that. You know, I may even agree with you, Tabe, on some of the things that you say about these people that control the banking cartels and the media. But I'm not going to go pull them by the hair and rip them out of the country and put them in a camp. You know, I'm not going to do it. Sorry, it's not the right thing to do. There's better ways of handling things. So unmute you, Tabe, one more time. Go ahead.
You done running your mouth now? Because I got your information. Check your messenger and you can get your video of Joe Biden. I am a Zionist. How Joe Biden's lifelong bond with Israel shapes war and policy. There's the video. Now.
All right. Okay, I'll play it. I'll find out if that's what he says.
Yeah,
all
now
right.
what?
If he does say it. If he does say it.
Joe,
if he does say it.
See, there you go. There's Mr. Passive. You know what, Joe?
If
you
he does say it. Listen, you already judged what I was going to say. You already judged what I was going to say. You don't even know what I'm going to say.
You're as bad as fucking
you
Shabbat and the rest of them fucking faggots.
Fuck you, Tabe. Tabe, fuck you, because you're acting like an asshole.
Fuck you,
all right,
Joe.
Fuck you. Fuck you, you moonbat motherfucker, okay? Now shut the fuck up for a minute, you stupid moonbat. That's the problem. Your mouth is moving too fucking fast. All right? And don't fucking go trying to threaten me either, because I'm not the fucking one, all right? Don't fuck with me, Cave. Don't fucking do it. Don't do it. I've been level-headed right now for a long time. I've been trying to keep my cool, but now you pushed me overboard, all right? Don't fuck with me, man. Oh. God damn. Fucking motherfuckers you think you're talking to, man. All right, let me look at his video here. That Joe Biden, because it's probably edited. Oh, man. All right, I am a Zionist. How Joe Biden's lifelong bond with Israel shapes war. I guess that, because he has a lifelong bond, I guess that makes him a Zionist. But let me click on it and see what he says here. There's no video. There's no video. There's an article. It's an article. There's no video in here. All right. But for his sake, since I said I'd play it, or click on it, I'm going to read it. I am a Zionist. How Joe Biden's lifelong bond with Israel shapes war policy. Washington Reuters. Joe Biden met with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his war cabinet during his visit to Israel. The U.S. president assured them, I don't believe you have to be a Jew to be a Zionist, and I am a Zionist. All right. That's a reporter saying something that he's quoting, all right, because Joe Biden's not saying it right here. The politicians and generals gathered in the ballroom of Tel Aviv hotel nodded in approval, according to the U.S. official knowledgeable of the closed-door remarks. These are closed-door remarks. See, they're even as Israel bombarded Gaza in retaliation for a devastating attack by Palestine, Hamas militants, and with a ground invasion looming. Biden, who is of Irish Catholic descent, has said similar words in the past to profess his affinity to Israel. But the moment, which has not been previously reported, illustrates how Biden's decades as one of the leading friends of Israel in American politics seem to be guiding him during a defining crisis of his presidency. It also underscores the challenges he faces balancing unwavering support for Israel and persuading the Prime Minister, with whom he has a long history, to avoid worsening the civilian death toll and humanitarian meltdown in Gaza, as well as complicating further releases of American hostages. Biden's connection to Israel is deeply ingrained in his political DNA, said Aaron David Miller, a former Middle East negotiator who served six secretaries of state in both Democratic and Republican administrations. Whether he likes it or not, he's in the midst of a crisis he'll have to manage. Reuters, this comes from Reuters now, interviewed a dozen current and former aides, lawmakers, and analysts, some of whom said Biden's current wartime embrace of the Prime Minister could afford the U.S. leverage to try to moderate Israel's response in Gaza. In their private session with aides on Wednesday, the two leaders displayed none of the tensions that have sometimes characterized their meetings, according to a second U.S. official familiar with the talks. But Biden did pose hard questions about the coming offensive, including, have you thought through what comes the day after and the day after, the official said. The U.S. regional sources have expressed doubt that Israel, which vows to destroy Hamas, has yet crafted an endgame. Biden's alignment with the right-wing leader risks alienating some progressives in his Democratic Party as he seeks re-election in 2024, with a growing international outcry against Israel's tactics, also casting some blame on the U.S. All right. Again, all through this, the writer quotes through closed doors, he said he's joking around a Zionist. This makes him a Zionist, I guess, everybody. You know, okay. Even if he did say it, it does not, again, what is, even if he is, nothing in here, though, even if he is a Zionist, is saying, I hate America and I'm going to destroy America. I can't stand America. I'm a part of the New World Order and I want to see everybody chipped like a dog. I don't see anything in here saying that. So your proof of Joe Biden is definitely, what do they say? FUBAR. There you go, right? Is that what we say? Good, he hung up. That dumbass. All right. Anyway, everybody, I lost Sarge. I'm glad Sarge is. I don't think Sarge wanted to be a part of that conversation anyway. 907, you still there?
Yeah, I'm hanging out.
Well, what'd you think of this there right there? You want to defend yourself on that? Because I got blamed for you calling him Adolf Hitler, by the way.
I didn't call him Adolf Hitler.
Oh, okay.
What I said was he's talking like Adolf Hitler did back in the 30s when they were going after the Jews completely and totally with malice in their heart.
Yep. Yeah. And I'm not a part of that. And I'm not going to be a part of that either. I'm not going to be, take part in that type of nonsense. You know, look, I'm willing to identify the problem, and if there's bad people in a certain group, I'll be the first one to say it, whether they be black, Hispanic, Jewish, white, whatever. You know, and if the majority of them are a part of a certain group, I will say that. But for me to go after just the Jews and say the Jews are evil and this and that is wrong. That is wrong to label one group of people and to alienate them and then to talk hatred against them is wrong. There are good Jewish people, I believe. I've met some. Let me tell you something. They're a pain in the neck doing business with because they're so cheap. But but they are good with money. You know, I'm telling you the truth. I mean, I'll tell the truth. You know, but they are good with money, and that's probably why they're in the banking system. You know, I mean, they can turn a box of rocks into a box of gold. You know, it's a simple fact. That's just the way it goes. You know. I mean, you're an older gentleman. You've had lots of experience. You grew up, I've heard you talk before, you grew up in the 60s and 70s and whatnot, so you've been around the block. You grew up during that period of time when probably the civil rights movement and whatnot. I mean, and so your analyzation of that type of talk is right on. And you've seen it before, right?
Yep.
All right.
And it ain't no fucking good.
Yeah, that's right.
You know?
That's right. I agree.
That's the kind of talk. That's the kind of talk that gets people killed. Just like we're not supposed to call Muslims terrorists because not all Muslims are terrorists, but all terrorists are Muslims. Don't make any sense to me, but, you know, that's the way it's playing out in the world. And
I noticed, you're right. You're right. You're 100% right. I noticed these podcast shows seem to be getting more and more, heated and more back and forth with each other in a way that we're not able to communicate. You know what I mean? Have you been noticing that too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I was, and maybe not going to participate in much of this bullshit anymore because, you know what? I got so many years left on this planet that I don't need the bullshit. You know,
that's right.
All I'm doing is sitting back here waiting for somebody to say that John has big mustache, and then I'll be ready to go. Until then, everybody's just talking fucking bullshit, you know, and nobody's doing nothing. So I just figured I'd wait for the call of John has a big mustache and be ready to go.
No, I understand, and I got to sympathize with you and agree with you, too, on that, because me, they start pushing the buttons. I've been doing this a while, and, I got thick skin, because I've been threatened on here. They called my house. They called the gym where I work out at and threatened me there and made up story, so many people have, and I brushed it off because nobody's going to look, I tell them the same thing. Look, I'll leave the porch light on for you anytime you want to come by, So I'm not going to lose any sleep over it, trust me. But the thing of it is that they keep trying to push the buttons, and these keyboard warriors. And there are sick people out there, too. There are dangerous people out there. You're absolutely right. But at the same time, we're trying to come here to do what? To try to fix our country. And if it's backfiring and we're not doing anything positive, when we're creating bad apples and bad seeds out there to explode, then you're right. Maybe it's time to say, hey, to hell with this. Because I don't need it either. I'm running for public office. I don't need this to get into an argument over this nonsense and then someone replay this for the news down here. I don't need this. I really don't. I'm trying to help people.
Yeah. Well, like I tried to help you the other day when I told you you should campaign on abortion and the economy and say that you're pro-abortion and say that you're pro-appropriate repatriation or whatever, and shit like that. Yeah. Just to get elected, just like all the other politicians do.
Yeah.
I mean,
we
had. I could tell you that up here we had a governor that made all sorts of fucking promises. I'll have to admire him at least for being honest, okay? But he got himself elected, and what was it? I think it was 2 days after he got elected, he said all campaign promises are off.
Wow.
He came out and publicly said that.
And that right there, he should have been recalled. The people should have been trying to recall him since day one, But really, it wouldn't work anyway. Because like you said, once they're in there, they could screw everybody over for the entire term. And then most likely they're an incumbent next time around, so they're going to get reelected. But once they're in there, the jig is up, It's crazy. It's a broken system, man.
Yeah, I can't remember, but I do believe he was a one-termer. But
good.
It was a hell of a revelation. Let's just put it that way. When he came out himself and said all campaign promises are off.
Wow, to be that bold. Well, like you said, at least he was finally honest, right? That was probably the only time he was honest.
Yeah. Probably.
Wow.
Now, I could say that had he have given an explanation, he says, now that I'm here and I see what's going on and how fucked up it is and everything, all campaign promises are off. But he didn't. He just said they were all off.
But now listen, during his term, did he actually follow through with that? Or that he did all campaign did he not fulfill all his campaign promises? Or did he just not try? I mean, how did it go? I mean, he was a one-termer, obviously. They threw him out, but I'm just saying, what did he do? Did he screw up your state or what?
No, he didn't really screw up the state, but like a lot of his campaign promises and stuff never materialized. He did a few good things for the state in trying to straighten some shit out that wasn't even on the radar, okay, during the campaign or anything like that. But still, to come out and just blatantly say all campaign promises are off.
Yeah, just to say that.
Great. Like,
well, we
what?
had one. Yeah, we had one in Connecticut in 1991. His name was Governor Weicker, and if everybody looks him up, he was a one-termer. He was independent, and he campaigned on no income tax. He would not implement the state income tax. He campaigned because everyone else wanted the income tax, state income tax for Connecticut. Governor Rowland at the time ran it, lost against him. Everybody lost because that's what he campaigned. That's what the people wanted. And he got into office. He says, "Well, I got to implement the state income tax," and they went nuts. I mean, there were 90,000 people rallied on the Green in Hartford, Connecticut. I mean, they had ropes and everything. I mean, they were like, and they were shouting at him, and he had the balls enough to walk through the crowd. I mean, he was a big guy. He's like 6'7", big tall guy. Governor Weicker, if you look him up. And
I remember Weicker, but I don't remember, the battle on the the state income tax.
No, that's what it was over. That was over. Yeah, the state income tax, and he got voted out of there. And then Rowland came in, got elected, and then Rowland ended up getting arrested on criminal charges, and he ended up going to prison, federal prison, for 1 year and 1 day. Governor John Rowland. He was a dirtbag, John Rowland. So that's what they do. They campaign on things. People remember that. And, why would you're playing with people's lives. When you make campaign promises and you swear an oath and you take that oath to the people and represent the people, I take that very seriously. And you got to stick to your word. And even if your campaign promises are going to do maybe not so good for your see, that's a tough situation. Like, if I make a promise, say such and such an issue, and that issue now, if it's implemented, it's going to hurt the citizens or it's going to hurt the community. That's why it's so very important to be careful what you make for promises. I mean, what you stand behind or stand for. It's very different. You got to be very, very careful, because some things that the people want we're actually not going to be good for the people. But at the same time, the Constitution dictates that you got to, the people are in charge, and what the will of the people is and what they want really kind of really should go. I mean, but then you get into those tricky situations. Well, what about if you look at slavery? Most of the people wanted slavery back then, they reversed that, I mean, or the civil rights movement, so sometimes you got to go against the will of the people, I guess, and for the good and betterment of the human race. I don't know. It's nobody has a perfect answer. We can't play God. None of us can. None of us are perfect. We're all going to make mistakes, but at the same time, we have to try to do what's right. For what's good for our people.
Yeah. Well, it was like I got elected president of an organization up here, and so when the election was all over, there was a lot of vacant offices in the organization, that people didn't run for or anything. So I was out looking for volunteers to take those slots. And I can't remember what slot I was trying to fill, but I called a gal and asked her if she would take the slot. And she says, "Why would you, she was totally opposite of me, on what I wanted to do and how I saw things. Okay. And she pointed that out and stuff. And I said, yeah, I know. I said, that's why I want you in this position, because you are opposite from me and you can keep me from doing stupid things or going too far or whatever, because you're going to play my devil's advocate on what it is that I would like to do. you know, and we had a very good relationship, you know, during
sometimes
that time.
But I was, yeah.
Oh yeah. So I mean, I used her as my sounding board, and she would tell me yes, no, why I was full of shit, and then you know, I would go and say, well, what about if we do this instead of that? And then we would banter back and forth. And as far as I was concerned, you know, that banter back and forth between her not liking it to begin with and me liking it to begin with, we actually worked out things that were actually turned out to be very good.
Yeah,
you know?
and things and issues that you thought were being a possibility to work out, but with both of you working at opposite ends of the stick, you know, actually it kind of brought it to a middle ground where it worked out for all the people. That's what it sounds like to me, and that sometimes works.
It worked out. Yeah, and overall it worked out pretty good. It worked out better than what either one of us thought it was going to. You know.
Yeah. Yeah,
but
well, that's good.
I mean, that was the reason why I asked her to take the position. You know, and
now you're a strong advocate against the nursing homes, right?
Plus she had the skills to do the job anyway.
Yeah, well, you're a strong advocate against it. You're a strong advocate against the nursing homes, right?
Against the what homes?
Nursing homes. You know, like convalescent homes for the elderly. You're against them, correct? Or maybe I got the wrong person here. I thought maybe you were.
No, I'm not. I'm not against them. But I do have very, very serious problems with them. Okay.
Well, we all do. Yeah.
You know, but I'm not against the whole idea of it. I mean,
okay.
Shit,
they definitely need they need to be reformed. You know, I mean, I think a lot of the elderly are abused in these places, and I think a lot of these places need to be more citizen oversight, not state oversight or government oversight, more citizenry oversight, because of the elderly that are being abused and wrongfully medicated and even sometimes murdered in these places.
Well, there's a lot of responsibility there that has to happen. You know, it's not only it's not the patients, but the patient's relatives. You know, that need to oversee the care that their relative is getting. You know, and be an advocate for the patient or for the elderly person. You know. And
people just dump their relatives off there. They dump them off, you know, and then they leave them there, you know, and that's wrong.
Well, I understand that, but the relatives need to be involved anyway. You know, they may not be. I mean, it used to be when you got to be elderly, you know, and starting to go infirmed and down the hill, your kids took you in and took care of you. Okay.
Not anymore.
But that was also back in the times when mom was at home and dad was at work, you know, and there was somebody there all the time, you know, and you know, I mean, those days of Ozzie and Harriet are long gone. You know, as much as I hate to say it, you know, those days are long gone, and you know, it's a shame.
It is.
That's part of the problems that we have with society. But needless to say, you know, some of the nursing home advocates, or not advocates, but employees, actually need to be taken out back of the nursing home and just have the shit whipped out of them, and let go. You know?
You're doing Andrew Jackson, a duel. Andrew Jackson was famous for that. One of my favorite presidents.
We don't need a duel. We just need to whip the shit out. I mean, when I grew up, okay, I was I came from a divorced household, okay, and I lived with my mom. We were poor. You know, I can remember getting clothes and shit from the church. You know, when the church took care of you, you know?
Yeah.
And things.
With no strings attached,
and I know that the church took care of, you know, quite a few families in town. And I know that, you know, the church would give money to Mom to go buy food. Dad had come home and take that cash out of Mom's hands and go down to the bar and drink and spend it how he wanted to. You know. It got it got to the point where the ladies of the church would not give Mom cash no more. What they did would they'd pick up Mom and take her to the grocery store.
Okay.
And Mom and fill up the cart, you know, with groceries. The ladies would pay for it. And the husbands would then go have a conversation with the husband. You know, the ladies of the church. Husbands would go have the fathers have a conversation with him. And you know, and you know, it took Dad 4 or 5 days to recover, but you know, that was how we handled it back then. You know. You know, we solved problems locally. We didn't need no fucking government involvement. I mean, the worst policy that ever came out as far as society was Johnson's Great Society, when he shut down all the churches, you know, taking care of people, and say, no, the government's going to take care of everybody. And that was a very bad thing, you know.
Yes, it was.
I mean, they made it so that, you know, if a church was running the soup kitchen, all right, feeding bums or anybody, you know, it came in off the street, you know, they would serve up the food, and, you know, then they would have a prayer, you know, for the food that we're about to eat, you know.
Can't do that no more.
They said no.
Can't do that no more.
They said no. It was against. It became against the law that they couldn't do that anymore.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah.
And basically, you know, all the charities in all the communities around the company revolved around the churches in that community. You know, the people took care of their own communities, and that has since gone away. You know, I mean, it was
another problem with why things are broken in our society. There's so many ailments and problems that we've seen dwindle. I mean, there's so many things that we've seen dwindle away that have caused the ailments and problems that we have faced today as a people. You know. And if we just go back to the times of yesterday, and minus the bull crap and bullshit, you know, we would be a really perfect union, you know, in this country.
Yeah.
You know, if we had sound currency that didn't have slavery, and said we treated everybody equally based upon the content of their character, not their skin color or what they believe. And we would have we'd have such a perfect union. But it seems like we could be so close to that, but yet we're so far away because of our own ignorance.
Yeah. Well, you remember You remember when Hillary came out and says it takes a village to raise a child?
Yes, I do.
You know, she didn't mean it in the way that it actually worked out, because where I lived in a small town, and by God, you know what? All the moms in town took care of all the kids, you know. And if somebody if somebody was doing bad, you know, and needed their ass or their brain knocked out of their put back in place, you know,
get
it out of their asshole and put it back in their skull. Any mom in the neighborhood would do that to any kid, you know, in the neighborhood, you know. And I tell you what, it got so fucking bad that, and I don't know how they did it, you know, but my mom to know 20 minutes before I knew that I was even going to do something.
Yeah, mom's little secret. How did they have that radar? How did a mother have that radar?
Know.
You know,
I really don't know. Before us kids even brought up an idea, moms.
I know what you're thinking.
You know,
knock it
all
off.
the mothers, all the mothers knew about it before we even talked about it as kids.
Wow.
You know.
Yeah.
Don't ask me how that happened, but it was very wild. And last summer, I was very fortunate. I'm 72, and I was back in my hometown. And by God, you know what? One of the moms was still alive.
Get away. Well, get away. How old was she? 100?
Huh?
How old was she?
90s. She was in her 90s.
Yeah, okay. She had to have been, yeah.
You know, and I had the greatest opportunity and met her again.
Wow.
You know.
Wow.
You know, and this was probably 50, 60 years since I had left home, you know.
Amazing.
And oh man, what a feeling.
Yeah, I bet. Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, anyway, it was for what, at least we ended the show on a good note. It was pretty good. I hope Ron Reck does a show tonight. It's about my time to sign off, actually. I got to go back to my drinking. Oh, man. I put some people, hey, thank you to everybody in the chat room. The Alaskan, let's see, Conservative Nation. I didn't even see you in there. Thanks for, Donnie. Oh, I hope you're feeling better, Donnie. Donnie, see you there. I hope he's feeling better. Sarge. Of course, he's still listening to the chat room. So, and of course, American Statesman, thank you. For all, I know you're a true patriot, and well, y'all are in there actually. Appreciate you guys hanging in there and listening. Sorry about the arguing here tonight on it. You know, just ridiculous. I mean, I just don't know what gets into some people sometimes. But we're all passionate, I guess. Maybe sometimes in the wrong ways. You know, we shouldn't be acting this way. But I guess I'll play. That's what I might play here at the end. I know Sarge loves Ronald Reagan, but I think I'm going to play something, since I had to take the brunt of it tonight. I'm just going to play one of my songs that I like. So, all right, everybody, you don't have to listen if you don't want.
Yeah,
but anyway, God bless.
What's that? Hey, it's your show. Do what you want.
Yeah, I always like to serve the people, you know. But anyway,
well,
hey, take care.
Take care,
God
man.
bless. Take care, everybody. Yep.